All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Xbox2 podcast. I believe it is episode 313, if I'm not mistaken, on this glorious April 26th, where my Chicago Bears have just dominated the NFL draft by selecting Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. We're just gonna run rod shot over the entire NFL with our team. Yeah, right. The Bears are gonna suck. We all know it. Get a little sports talk here for Jez, because I know how much he loves football, real football, not fake football.
Ugh,
right?
Christ, Jesus.
I know, right?
There was some. No, go on.
Let's just say, if you don't know who I am,
I was already gonna throw a tangent in there, but let's at least finish the intro before we get to the tangent.
Are you sure?
I mean, yeah.
Are you positive? All right.
Yeah, I'm positive. Continue.
So if you don't know who I am, I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and we are joined, as always, by the one and only Fallout adventurer, Jez Corden, Windows Central managing editor. He's here. What's going on?
Yeah. I'm dropping some codes in the chat.
Yes,
Random
you are.
codes.
Random codes for games.
Random game codes in the chat for the party peeps. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Jez Corden, the man with the million hours in Fallout 76. And damn, it has been a busy week. But I'm glad to be here with you, Rand, my good buddy, my old pal, my comrade, my compadre. I've got Fallout fever bad right now, Rand. Do you want to know how bad I've got it?
How bad do you have Fallout fever?
I bought a cowboy hat.
Like in real life?
In real life. I bought a real life cowboy hat. Leather. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. I think I'm having a midlife crisis.
How old are you?
But 37.
37. Midlife crisis? Yeah, it's about right. It's about right.
Yeah. Good, right? I'm gonna stream Fallout 76 tomorrow in the cowboy hat, in character.
In
character, yes. We're gonna.
Well, your character's American, so you're gonna have to speak proper English.
Proper English. I don't know how to do a West Virginia accent. Can you, Rand?
Are you gonna sing the song?
You mean Almost Heaven, West Virginia,
yes.
Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River.
Watch out, we might get copyright claims because of the song.
Oh, yeah. Can you get copyright claimed for singing a song?
I've seen people get too much of it.
Well, I suppose that works on pitch detection. So if I sing off key, it'll be okay. But anyways, yes. Man, Fallout was crazy. But yes, Rand, welcome and everyone to Xbox 2 podcast. Have you had a good week, Rand, on your end? You been playing any Fallout?
No Fallout. No Fallout, sir. I've been playing a different game, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's a good week. I am actually kind of confident about the Bears, my beloved Chicago Bears, and their prospects for the future. We actually might get a modern offense in Chicago, or maybe Chicago's just where quarterbacks and receivers come to die. I don't really know, but I'm kind of excited about the new season, and I haven't really been like that in a long time. But that draft got me hyped, man. I'm looking forward to the season.
I didn't know you cared about.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I care to the extent where, like, it's better when the teams are good, right? Because right now the White Sox, my beloved White Sox, are literally the worst team in the MLB, and are on track to maybe lose the most games ever anyone has ever had in Major League Baseball. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I need something positive. And don't talk to me about the Cubs, because screw the Cubs. I hate the Cubs. So it's like, all right.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And the Bulls just got eliminated from the playoffs because they're just mediocre,
Right.
So I need some sort of like something to look forward to. But all right, next season the Bears, what they got? let's go, right? So Other than
God,
that,
man.
I mean, it's been a week. It's been a week. We got a lot to talk about. Gaming,
We do.
everything. It should be a lot of fun. So if you guys are filing on in, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. All that good stuff. You know what to do. But hope everybody's doing well. By the way, hope everybody's healthy, happy. Enjoying life and just having a good time.
There's a lot to play right now. There's a lot to play, and I kind of feel like news-wise we're in a bit of this pre-showcase lull, maybe. But I think, it's going to start ramping up next month.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, and maybe I'll be, with a bit of luck, I'll be on the ground in LA this year.
Ooh. A Fury J West says we were getting along until you mentioned you're a Sox fan. Oh no. We got a Cubs fan up in here. You believe this?
Yeah.
We got a freaking Cubs fan. Unbelievable.
I don't know what any of this means. What does any of this mean?
And the funny thing is both the Cubs or the White Sox and the Bears are asking for taxpayer money to build new stadiums. Like billions upon billions of dollars, and they want the taxpayers to pay for these new stadiums. And it's sort of the way we are right now in the economy and everyone feels about it. More than likely, when that stuff goes to a vote, people aren't going to want to, especially the White Sox. Like, why would anybody in Chicago vote for, like, yeah, let's give the White Sox $10 billion to build a stadium when they're literally the worst team in baseball? Yeah, that'll go over very well.
Worst team?
Yeah, they're like 4-20.
Oh, you guys have leagues or anything?
Yeah, we got leagues. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry. This is the sports podcast today, I guess.
The sports podcast. Speaking about sports, funny in the UK, one of the mayoral candidates for London said if they elect him, he will work to bring WrestleMania to London.
Ooh.
he's campaigning on WrestleMania.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, right?
In a long time. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows how much wrestling's back in the mainstream. This politician's going after it. But yeah, this is not a sports podcast. This is an Xbox podcast. Rand Thor 19.
Whatever the hell we want it to be. I'll talk about books. I'll talk about movies and TV shows. I'll talk about whatever I want.
Okay. If it's Fallout TV show, which I haven't finished yet, by the way. Still, but we're getting there. My girlfriend's on vacation this weekend.
Ooh.
And she's not here. She's not here. She's gone to Austria. So
Austria? What's she doing down there?
She's visiting Vienna with her family, so I'm gonna take advantage of the situation and play Fallout 76 all weekend.
What, play Fallout 76 in your skimpies, your undies?
Yep.
Undies. Not have to do anything.
Nope.
Maybe start a petition about how Stellar Blade's been canceled or not canceled, censored.
Yeah, I suppose we'll talk about that.
No, we ain't talking about that. We're just gonna make fun. It's like, yeah, let me just start this petition.
We might talk about Stellar Blade, right?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it yet.
You played it?
No, I mean, it just came out last night. I bought it, but I haven't had the chance to play it because the game I was playing, I finally finished it last night.
Oh, and what were you playing, Rand?
I was playing Tales of Kenzera. Zao.
Oh, Zao. What is that? Is that a Metroidvania?
Indeed.
Platformer?
Indeed it is. Metroidvania
Metroidvania.
platformer. We'll talk about that. We're lucky we're even doing the podcast because you know who's in town right now? As I see Lucas say his name. Brandon Sanderson is in town at C2E2, which is Chicago's like Comic-Con sort of thing. And he's down there doing signings and talking, and he's one of my favorite authors. And we're lucky we're doing the show because I could have been like, no Xbox 2. Let me go bring all my Cosmere books and let me go downtown to Chicago and get them signed by the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Sanderson. But
we all know you're not going outside, Rand.
Bro, for Brandon Sando, I'll go out there and I'll get those books signed.
Oh man. Well, should we do a little bit of housekeeping?
Yes, indeed.
Then get some gaming topics.
I actually do have his autograph. I actually have a few of the leather bounds that have his signature on. So I actually do have his autograph for some of the books. But yeah, let's do some housekeeping. And this episode is brought to you by Manscaped.
Yes, indeed. And you know what, Rand? I've
What?
actually got a special message from Manscaped this
Really?
week.
A special
It's actually
message? Okay.
a special message, and it's quite important. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Indeed. Thanks to Manscaped for supporting us so much. But did you know one man every hour, every day, is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer amongst men aged 15 to 35, with April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Our friends at Manscaped have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. Visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for early signs of cancer. And as always, you can use promo code XB2 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. With this in mind, you can perform simple, routine self-checks at home while enjoying Manscaped products you use every day, like the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It just makes sense. We use products daily to trim and maintain our boys down there already. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra features 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth and sleek. With dual LEDs, you'll achieve better visibility, making every trim more precise and hassle-free. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committing to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. That is why they will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society in the United States. Help save lives and balls by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny, educational check yourself video. And while you're at it, grab 20% off and free shipping with code XB2. That's XB and the number 2. And because, like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your children, your balls, and your mentals.
Who said
I'm
that?
not sure. I don't know. It doesn't say.
Mm.
I think Rand said it. The famous philosopher Randolph Thor 19 said it.
I don't know about
But
that
yes, Manscaped been a long-time supporter of the show, and also, you know, testicular cancer is a serious issue, and they're doing a campaign with the Testicular Cancer Society in America, and you know, it's an important topic which could potentially affect people in this chat statistically, maybe, you know, one of us. So yeah, definitely go over to the site /TCS at manscaped.com, and they've got some tips and tricks on how to, you know, check yourself, which I think I might actually do myself.
Plus, you can always use our code, manscaped.com.
XB2.
XB2, if you
Indeed.
20% off and free shipping, as always. So thank you for them for sponsoring this episode. We also have the wonderful people, patreon.com/XB2, who are always supporting the show with, you know, we got the question thread up. Anybody who hasn't gotten their questioning, make sure you go and do so. By the end, we'll get to those towards the end of the show. And we got some shout-outs. We got Just James 93, Jay Peltier, Thurgus, Christian, The Password, Book and Beard, Holy Dark Dad, Steve Sloppy, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trade, The Grandest of Bip, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Rattlethor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Fantasticals, Halo is the Goat, Catriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, PB Broking, Asa T, and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Tropy, Prof JJJ, Ghostface Killa, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and Jez on Patreon. Yeah, so with that out of the way, what do you want to talk about, Jez? We'll do the Cody Rhodes. So, what do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. We've got Xbox financials. We've got rumors about the showcase.
Yeah.
We've got more Fallout 4 next gen update arrived.
Yeah,
I think
and it was bugged in
kind of
typical Bethesda fashion.
Yeah. Well, hey, it wouldn't be Bethesda without a few bugs in there.
Wouldn't be Bethesda. Let me talk a little bit about the game I was playing. Tales of Kenzera, Zao. Because there's been a lot of discussion along this game. You know, it was debuted at the Game Awards, and it basically was like a passion project for this developer who lost his father. It's also steeped in African myths and legends and things of that nature, which is not something I know very much about. So I saw the reviews. I saw that it was, I think in like the mid 70s, 76 or whatever. But from the gameplay trailers that I'd watched, it looked pretty interesting. And I am a Metroidvania fan, right? I love me some Ori, love me Hollow Knight. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown was one of my favorite games of this year. And that was an absolutely fantastic Metroidvania. So I was like, okay, let me check this out. And I played it, I beat it, and I quite enjoyed it, Jez. It is a very, very solid entry into Metroidvania style of game. It has a lot of interesting concepts. Like the gameplay, I think everybody knows what a Metroidvania is, right? You kind of go through areas. Sometimes you don't have the right equipment or tools to open up certain spots because as you progress, you get more abilities, more tools, right? And in this game, it's about grief and loss because it's about a young man struggling with the death of his father, and he comes across a book that his father wrote, which is like telling this tale of another character struggling with the loss of his father, and they go on this journey. And in this journey, he's like a shaman, and he has these powers from the Mask of the Sun and the Mask of the Moon, which is your primary like gameplay mechanics. Where when you have the Mask of the Moon on, your attacks are kind of you fire out these really fast projectiles, and then you reload. And then you can switch on the fly with the Mask of the Sun by pressing left bumper. And that's kind of more the melee build. Suddenly now you got these huge like sun claws, and you basically do a bunch of light attacks. And then as you progress, you get things that help, other things that would influence whatever mask you have on. Like when you have the sun mask, you get like a spear that can activate targets far away, or you throw it at enemies. You get abilities to like recreate or destroy things that block your path, and it all adds to the momentum of like you getting around this world. So like by the time you get like midway through, or even closer to 3/4 of the way through, getting around is pretty simple and easy. I think maybe my only real issue that I have with the game is that the combat itself is sort of, it like never really evolves from the beginning. You don't really. It's serviceable, and it's satisfying at the start, but I felt towards the end like the only thing that was really changing, since you don't really get any more fighting abilities at all, was that they just sort of add shields on top of the enemies that you have been fighting all game. So, and those shields are kind of like color coded, so it's like, oh, he's got a red shield, so you got to use your sun ability to take it down, or a blue shield to sort of take it down with your moon. So it sort of didn't really evolve in a way that I felt was satisfactory, but also at the same time the game's short enough where I felt some of the short
get horrible.
Well, yeah, so like the game's short enough where I didn't feel that it was outstaying its welcome, and the evolution in the combat wasn't that big of a deal, but it was something. It was probably, I don't know, maybe the least thing I was like interested in, right? Because I really liked the locomotion, getting through the levels. I really liked the story they were telling. It's a deep personal story about losing a loved one, grief and loss, something that all of us go through at some point, and learning about the African deities, like lore. I don't really know much about that, so it was kind of really like a history lesson to understand and see the things that they were talking about and their sort of myths and legends, and being like, oh, that's really cool, and how these things sort of click together. I think the game was about 9 hours, and I think I did everything in the game. I got all the different collectibles, all the different upgrades, all the spirit arenas and stuff. So I think I put about 12 hours into the game doing it, but I mean, you could easily beat it in like 8 if you wanted to. So it's not like a really long game, but I think it's, I think it's an important game because there's really not any, as far as I can tell and the stuff I played, there's really not like a game that really is like this. I mean, there's other Metroidvanias for sure, but there's really none like this. So I definitely would recommend it if you are a Metroidvania fan, because I do think it's good, right? I just kind of wish the combat was a little bit, the combat was just a tad bit better. But other than that, I think everything else that the game was doing was pretty damn good. And I'm, happy with my purchase, happy with the story it told. There was a couple moments there that, like, I was like, damn, like with the swelling of the music and the voice acting, which was all fantastic. I was like, I think this is the studio's first game as well. They did a really, really fine job with it.
Sounds like it's sort of like a really great first game from this team. Well, is it like, I know you mentioned about the masks being the swapping between melee and shooter combat.
Kinda, yeah.
Is that kind of like I don't know. Do you have to swap? Is there
Do you
parts
have
of the game
to swap? I mean,
or can I play it more like, because Hollow Knight's a little bit more melee oriented, and then Super Metroid is more shooter oriented. Can you play it how you want, or do you is there a section where it's like, well, it's better?
No, you definitely there are moments you're definitely going to have to swap, right?
Yeah.
There, some of the enemies have shields that only really go down when you use the corresponding shield, but that's like more later on in the levels. So if you're in the combat, you kind of just use whatever you want. Maybe the enemy's far away, so like you have the moon, so you're just shooting at them, reload, or if they're close, you're switch and you're melee. But also a lot of getting around will require you to be like, make a jump, switch this mask, and then use this ability to either create something or destroy something and stuff. And then they'll have their escape sequences. Like Ori, there's a couple of those escape sequences where you have to be like quick on your toes. And if you're not sure what you're doing, or if you wait too long, whatever's coming after you from the side of the screen will kill you. So some of those require you to, be really quick with button presses and remember how to do certain things. Like you'll be jumping and then like, okay, now I got to hold left bumper. I got to hold left trigger and press B and aim it here. Now I got to press right trigger to use my hook. Now I got to switch to the sun thing and press B to recreate this, and then jump and like, so the locomotion stuff gets pretty involved in some of those sequences, but I don't think it's really too overwhelming. And I think most people will enjoy this game, right? It's not. I think when you compare it to another game of its like, you have Prince of Persia, $50, and then you have this at $20, and there's definitely a gap, right? Not only in price point, but also amount of content, and maybe even. I don't really want to say like Prince of Persia is like, oh, it's more expensive, so therefore it's better, but Prince of Persia definitely has more. Maybe like a better presentation, and maybe that's because it is Ubisoft and has more money behind it. Not to say that this game has worse presentation. It just has the presentation that you would expect from a game with a lower budget, right? And if people would ask me what would I recommend, I'd recommend both those games depending on your budgets, but I would say Prince of Persia is a better game and has more to it. And I felt the combat was much more enjoyable in Prince of Persia compared to this one, because that's really my only complaint with this game. Was I feel like the combat wasn't as satisfying as it was in Prince of Persia, but that was it. Other than that, like, I really enjoyed my time. I'm happy I played it, and yeah, I mean, hopefully other people check it out, because I do think it's a really, really cool game with a really important message. So
It's awesome. Well, it's another one for the eternal backlog there.
yeah, it's something that you'll probably never play.
I mean, for real. I mean,
What did
I was
you?
saying
I know you guys reviewed it at Windows Central. What did your reviewer think of it?
I think they liked it overall. I think we gave it an 8. I want to say an 8 out of 10.
Mm.
Off the top of my head, I didn't edit that article myself, but yeah, I was saying on Twitter the other day, like, how sort of Diablo Season 4 is coming out in a couple of weeks. World of Warcraft Season 4 just dropped. Overwatch Season 10 dropped last week. And now I'm getting back into Fallout 76 as well. It's like, how do these companies expect me to, do all of these games? And I have a day job too, and it's... And then there's like all these other like smaller games, like these indie kind of games coming out that I want to play, but it's also like these games are sort of giving me FOMO. It's like, have you seen the power armor skin you get at the end of this battle pass? It's really good. So it's like I want to get that, but I also want to play other games. It's the backlog is real, man. It's like annoying first world problem kind of stuff.
Yeah, the backlog's real, because you're sitting there playing Fallout 76 all day and Overwatch 2, and you won't play anything new and stuff, Yeah, that's why the backlog's real.
But that's most gamers these days. That's like most people are just too lazy to check out anything new, and that's become me as I get older. And it's sort of like, well, I'm tired after work. I could play something new, or I could just play something that I already know. I don't know what it is. I think like back in the day because Microsoft and Sony used to charge developers, or at least Xbox did. I don't know about Sony, but Xbox used to charge developers to do an update to their game. I think they used to charge a lot of money.
They do. They used to. That used to be a big problem.
Yeah, but it was back when bandwidth was quite expensive, servers were expensive, and like it was before like having a server infrastructure was quite a normal and less of a trivial thing. But obviously everyone's got servers now, and it made no sense to charge people to do an update to their game, which kind of gave rise to service games, because if a developer can update it for free and bandwidth costs came down, and it no longer cost a load of money to issue a little patch, and everyone got broadband now, it's sort of the rise of service games was kind of inevitable, right? But now it's sort of making it harder for, I think, some of these smaller games and even like bigger single player games to sort of break through the mold. They have to either be like absolutely amazing, or they come out at a very strategic time when there's just nothing else really to play, and there's just so much to play right now. I kind of feel like it's funny because there are some obvious exceptions to this. Did you see, Rand, that Dragon's Dogma beat Capcom's expectations, and they've increased their shareholder dividend on the back of Dragon's Dogma? Dragon's Dogma had a lot of hype behind it as well, and it was a good game, but I didn't expect it to have that kind of visible success, especially when there's a big question mark right now hanging over Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which you would have thought would have been driving more hype. I would have thought.
Yeah, still no update about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's sales figures. Yeah. It's almost what, 2 months since it came out, and Square Enix hasn't said a peep about it. So I'm sure we'll get the usual at some point. Didn't live up to our expectations. That is very common with Square Enix.
Yeah, I mean, Square Enix has like seemingly high expectations of the games, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But it does make you wonder, like, how the industry sort of changed to accommodate the rise of these infinite games, these black hole games they call them. I don't know. I don't know what chat
But
thinks.
I remember when
You-
Tomb Raider reboot or one of them like sold 8 million copies or whatever it was, and Square Enix was like didn't meet our expectations. I was like, huh? Like what? That's
Yeah,
where
I
this
mean,
stuff all comes from.
Square Enix might just be downplaying stuff. Maybe it's like part of their shareholder culture or whatever to just have crazy expectations. But it is kind of telling that we haven't had an official, milestone announcement for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will end up having a long tail, especially when it comes to PC and people start modding it and they drop DLC for it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's cool to have seen stuff like Armored Core did pretty well as well. I think for like a sort of it's not up there with like your Elden Rings or your Grand Theft Autos or your CD Projekt Red kind of games in terms of hype, but like it did really well, and so did Dragon's Dogma and stuff like that. So clearly there is some room in there for these kind of games, but it's getting tougher and tougher for me to fit all this kind of stuff in at least. And I know like I don't have all the time in the world like Randall 419, the man with the million books.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I wish I had all the time in the world. Oh, one of the aspects I really did like about just really a quick aside about Tales of Kenzara was they give you the double jump and dash like right away from the beginning. I know some games sort of hold off, and I even think Prince of Persia held off on one of those, if I'm not mistaken. But sometimes some of these games like hold off on the abilities, but right away from the start you had double jump and dash. So it's like, oh, okay, cool, right? It's like I got double jump and dash, so I can get certain places. I thought that was, you know, appreciated because I know sometimes they make you work for it and play a little bit before they give you some of the good stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, we have Silas, member for 6 months. Thank you. He says, "Hey guys, on average, how much do you spend out of pocket on games and stuff? Accessories, battle passes, microtransactions, Diablo toys, Pokemon cards in a year? Whew. How much do you
Oh
spend
man,
on gaming
thousands,
in a
I think.
year, essentially?
Thousands. I'd say at
Thousands
least
of dollars.
$2,000 to $3,000. I would say for me probably,
Two to
and I
three
know that
thousand.
because I keep track of all that stuff in my tax return and that.
Yeah.
Um, but I buy a lot of services in games. Like
Like what?
for example,
What services you buying? Fallout
if you
first?
wanna, well, yeah, I subscribed to Fallout first, because I wanted to get a server for the Xbox Two community, but then I discovered the game doesn't actually work like that, and Fallout first is actually kind of not worth really having.
Okay.
So because you can just play on a public server with your friends anyway, and the Fallout First servers aren't persistent. I thought they were persistently online, but they're not. They're only online when you're online.
Mm.
So it's kind of pointless, you know. But anyways, but yeah, it's stuff like Fallout First. I also buy a lot of race changes in WoW. I get bored of my race in WoW a lot, and then pay $15 to change the race. I'm addicted to that. Um, there's a 30% sale on that right now. I should change my race right now. Yeah, stuff like that. But also collector's editions and merch. I got the Diablo collector's edition. Oh, Rand, You want to hear something funny?
What?
I bought because I don't know if people remember this, but I actually was a Fallout 76 defender when it came out. Do you remember this, Rand? I liked Fallout 76 before it was cool,
Okay.
and I had 7 days played in Fallout 76 before coming back to the game this week or last week. So when Fallout 76 was announced, they announced this Fallout 76 edition Pip-Boy creators kit. And it was like a model kit of a realistic Pip-Boy you could build. And I never opened it. I never opened it. And guess how much they're worth now
How much?
because of the hype? Like $1,000
Ooh.
if you've got one that's unopened.
Okay, that's cool.
But I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to open it.
Okay. You're not gonna sell it, you're gonna open it?
Yeah,
But
I
a
might
thousand
build it
bucks
on.
though.
Yeah, but I kind of want. I kind of want it though. I might build it on YouTube or something. Because I've got a lot of Fallout merch. I got a little Fallout shelf at home. A lot of bobbleheads. I got the other Pip-Boy. Yeah. Do you buy any game merch? Do you have any
No.
like posters or figures or stuff
No,
stuff like
I
that?
never was into that. I never was into buying like special editions. I never was into like the merch stuff. I don't know, like ever. I just wanted the game. I didn't really care about any of the other stuff at all. Maybe I'm weird like that, but
You're a bit weird.
I am a bit weird. So I don't really have a lot of merch for any sort of media property, I guess you would say it. I don't know. I don't really don't have that much stuff, and I've never really looked at something like that. It was like, oh, I want this or whatever. I know. One of my buddies like buys the special editions of all the games, so he has like in his room he has like a bookshelf of all like the special edition statues. You know, I always joke around with them and they're like, "Oh, where are your dolls at? And then show me your dolls, right?" But he always like orders those big $250 special editions, and he has them all displayed and nice and neat with all the lighting and in like a bookshelf against like two of the walls and
Like
stuff.
like King.
Like King, yeah, like King with his Hulk statues and his X-Men stuff. But yeah, so no, but I never really, I don't know, never really interested me. So I never really bought any merch.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird like that. I don't know.
Awesome.
I know some people start down that path by buying like special editions, like the physical copies of stuff that came with swag, and then they would see T-shirts and all that sort of stuff. I never cared about any of that. Like, I know they try to upsell
like
you when you would go to GameStop and be like, oh, you get this, you get a hat and get, this sort of thing. But I was just like, I don't really care about the game. And maybe that's why it was so easy for me to go digital. Because if all I wanted was the game and none of the other stuff, it's just easier just to get it digitally than it is physically. So it was just, all I cared about was the game and access to the game. Other people care about other things when it comes to physical, whether it's the ability to resell it or what have you and some of the other perks that they give, but I never cared about any of that stuff.
You know what else I've got sealed that I've never opened?
What?
Elden Ring Collector's Edition with Melania statue.
Elden Ring, but but apparently now they're making her arm as a thing.
Her actual arm?
Yeah, her actual arm.
I feel like a fraud having that collector's edition because I haven't completed the game yet.
Unbelievable. I mean, Jez and not completing a game, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Hey, I completed Dragon's Dogma, okay?
I mean, sure, that is the one game you reviewed, so I'm not surprised you beat it. But Elden Ring, though? Elden Ring? I remember when you were in your Dark Souls pocket for a bit.
Yeah, I hyper fixated on Dark Souls for a while. But then I got hyper burned out.
Well, that's why you don't hyper fixate like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get hyper burned out on Fallout. I can feel it.
Well, then you need to hyper move away from it and play something else.
I need to hyper.
How have you never gotten burned down on Overwatch 2, considering we do this show every single Friday, and the vast majority of the times you're sitting there playing Overwatch 2 for the time we're doing the show? I'm not surprised. How are you not burned out of Overwatch?
Do you want to know the truth?
Sure.
I injured myself playing Overwatch.
Injured yourself?
Yeah, I injured myself. Yeah.
Chad, are you guys hearing this? Jez injured himself while playing What's your injury? Thumb injury? Pinky injury? Trigger finger? Neck injury?
I really badly injured my neck. I couldn't move my neck. And it's because my TV is too high. And when I'm podcasting, I'm trying to like lean into the mic, but also look up at the TV. And
why don't you bring the TV down more?
I can't. There's no room. There is no room. There's no room. So yeah, I injured my neck, and I thought I can't play Xbox and podcast at the same time unless I want to have a permanent neck injury. So yeah, we don't do that anymore.
So I
need to figure out a way to bring the TV down, but it's too high up.
You ever watch one of Gaz's streams? When he's been playing Sekiro. That's what you look like, I think. Because Gaz he's like looking like straight up at the thing, like his head's tilted back. And I'm just like, that's got to be uncomfortable.
It is. And Gaz is... am I younger than Gaz?
I don't know. Remember. Maybe.
But like, maybe I'm older than Gaz, and like I'm just too old to like bend that way.
Maybe you slept on your neck wrong, bro.
I don't know. Maybe it could be a combination of things, but we don't Overwatch podcasts anymore.
We don't man. That is like, don't know what to say. I'm at a loss of words. I mean, this was basically Jez's time to play Overwatch during the podcast, and we used to have to survive on 70% of Jez's attention because the other part of his attention would be strictly on Diva and the hamster and Overwatch 2. And now Jez, he's a real gamer. He got injured playing a game. His neck sore from
I need to move the TV down. It kind of sucks because I never really.
I don't mean to laugh at your misfortune, but the idea of I can just picture you. The idea of you sitting here like staring up at the ceiling the whole time because your TV's up there while you're podcasting with the mic, and then one day you just look down and your neck crinks, and you just like
that's what happened basically. It's so bad. I need to figure out how to do it because honestly, like Overwatch, the podcast was the only time I play Overwatch really, because Overwatch is a game that I can play without really thinking. Like if you're playing like any other game where there's like story or dialogue that you want to listen to and be immersed in, then you can't really do it while podcasting, right? But for Overwatch, you don't really have to pay that much attention.
Here's the thing: most people don't play games while they podcast. You're like one of the very few people that I know that is literally playing a game while they podcast. You're like the only one.
Well, it's not bad, is it? I'm not any different.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like most of
the main times I lose attention on the podcast because I also have Slack open.
Sure. Yes.
And if someone messages me at work, something's on fire, then I end up getting distracted.
That is true. This has happened.
But usually, I don't find Overwatch that distracting because I don't really take it that seriously. I don't play Clump. Tom Warren in chat asking me what my competitive rank is. I don't play competitive. I'm not good enough, man. And also, all the Zim users are in competitive too. So. Did you see that Overwatch is trying to ban Zim and Cronus keyboards?
I did not. No.
Apparently, they've got some way of detecting it, but I don't know.
Poor Jez. He's on the IL injured reserve list for the podcast. Man, you might be eligible for some workman's comp.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Man, I'm sorry. When you said you got injured, I was like, oh man, like did you screw? I didn't think it would be your neck.
To be fair, I've also got a thumb injury at the minute. I can't bend my thumb.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'd think that was from gaming, but it's actually from my girlfriend getting mad at me and squashing me.
Oh, what'd you do? What'd you do to make her angry?
I was irritating her, and then she just sort of pushed my thumb in the wrong direction.
Ooh, you really angered her. No wonder she's she's not there right now.
Yeah, I'm a victim of domestic violence.
It seems like it, yeah. Pushing her thumb the other way. Ouch.
Yeah, and also my ankle hurts as well.
Your ankle?
You're
falling apart. It only gets worse, bro. Apart. When you hit 40,
I'm falling apart. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks, man.
Anyways.
That's enough. That's enough health podcasting
now. Poor Jez and his neck. We have the Andrew 13 with the $4.99 in super chat. We have he says Diablo 4 asks you to sign in to link your account before you can play. Has Steam, PlayStation, and Switch account options, but no Xbox option. Kind of ridiculous.
you can link your Xbox account to Diablo. It's just a Battle.net account. I actually sign into my Battle.net with my Xbox account, so you can do it. Maybe just the website needs to be updated or something. You go to Battle.net and then click the Xbox button. You can sign in with that.
Mm.
Might just be an oversight.
Jones with the 10. Hey, Rand Jez, I will roast both of you until you finally invite the #1 Xbox insider, my guy, Special Nick, the official king of Australia, who's levels above both of you in the podcast. Okay.
Damn.
But, Nick's been on Xbox 2. He just hasn't been on Xbox 2 plus 1. So, and now that Special Nick has been brought up, should we talk about his leak?
Oh, what was his leak? He's got a new leak?
Helldivers 2 on Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Helldivers 2
Nick.
in Xbox.
Yeah. Special Nick claims
Mm-hmm.
that early talks have started to bring Helldivers to Xbox.
Mm.
Do you believe Nick? Or do you think Nick might be mistake?
Do I believe Nick as in, like, do I think Nick made this up?
No.
Or that, Nick has legitimately been told that this is happening, or told that talks are happening, and maybe... Yes. Here's my thing about this when I saw it. I was like, oh, Nick. It's just like, this one is definitely going to ruffle some feathers for sure. And the way he talked about it being like, oh, it's an early discussions, nothing may happen with it. It's like the ultimate sort of, if it happens, I win, and if nothing happens, well, I don't lose. Because you're presenting the rumor as like, hey, this might happen, but it's early, so obviously, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe nothing happens, so then you don't have to explain yourself when it doesn't happen later on. It's like, oh, I'm covered. I win if it does get announced, and if it doesn't get announced, oh well, it doesn't matter. I told people it was early, so there's no getting it wrong on this one, which I think is hilarious. Hey, Jez, I don't know if you know this, but I was talking to somebody, and my uncle, he works for Nintendo, and he was telling me that early talks between Nintendo and Microsoft have happened about potentially bringing over Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to Xbox. But I got to keep in mind, it's just early. Talks could break down at any point.
Yeah, okay.
And it could never happen.
I get you.
So,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if it's your uncle, then I suppose it's probably true, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, he doesn't really tell me much. Yeah, he's got a great job at Nintendo, but when he told me that they were in early talks, I was interested, right? Because he knows I like Xbox, and I was like, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? And he's like, yeah, they want to bring it to more platforms. They're talking right now. He's like, but it may not happen. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to tell anybody, Uncle Ray. But Uncle Ray, so here.
Uncle Ray.
Here I am talking about on this podcast, and if it happens, think of me, guys. But if it doesn't happen, I told you it was early discussions, and don't get upset.
Oh dear, poor Nick. I mean, personally, I don't think it's gonna happen ever in history. I mean, I think it would be beneficial if it did happen for Arrowhead, for Sony even. I don't think people would switch from. I don't think there's a universe where people switch from PlayStation to Xbox because Helldivers is not exclusive anymore. So I think it would be beneficial to everyone involved. Sony make a ton of money. Arrowhead will make a ton of money, but I don't think it'll happen. I don't think Sony's ready to violate that covenant yet, if ever. So yeah, I don't think it'll happen. That's my opinion. What do you think? If you had to bet right now, yes or no, Helldivers on Xbox? Ever? What would you bet?
Like right today, this very second, I would probably say I probably wouldn't bet on it. Although I do think it's more the interesting part isn't so much that it might come, it's that they're even having the talks in the first place. Assuming Nick's source is correct or whatever it is, which let's give him benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's lying about it. So I think the interesting point is that discussions have taken place, because I can imagine this, if this was 5 years ago, the topic wouldn't even be discussed, right? Yeah. Parties wouldn't have even reached out. But here you are at this point in time, and there are discussions, feeling each other out maybe about whatever could happen. And yeah, probably some of it has to do with the new, with Taroki running things over there and their margins and stuff, and Helldivers 2, and it's how successful it has been on Steam and PlayStation. It also would probably be really successful on Xbox and could even extend the life of the game even longer, just like it really does seem like Sea of Thieves is going to happen with PlayStation, with how well it seems that game's going to do, and that game's going to get a whole bunch of new life breathed into it, a whole bunch of new players spending money that they can support the game for longer. So I think it's interesting that talks will happen. I don't expect anything to really come out of it, but, now that these things have been talked about and addressed, who's to say in 5 years things aren't different? Maybe Xbox's relationship with PlayStation at that point in time, 5 years from now, will be different. Maybe Xbox's hardware position after they release new hardwares, at a certain point where PlayStation doesn't feel like there's any downside to releasing some of their games on Xbox, because they know that nobody's really going to buy it and it's just like extra money for them. There's a lot of scenarios you could run through. Yeah. I sort of wonder about like the idea of even saying it if it is this early, right? Because if it really truly is that early, like, okay, let's just imagine talks are going and then it leaks. If I'm PlayStation, I'm probably furious about it to a certain point where, like, I go to Microsoft and I'm like, are you leaking this to certain people? How do they know? Like, maybe that could even affect the relationship. And being like, okay, this could...
How about this?
Okay.
It was going to happen, but because Nick leaked it, now it's cancelled.
Yeah.
GG. Thanks, Nick. You
GG.
ruined it, Nick.
Yeah.
You ruined it. But I think you have to wonder, like, the universe is changing when it comes to gaming, and you've got Destiny, and Destiny's a huge part of Destiny's revenue is Xbox, like it or not. Everyone likes to talk about Xbox dead. Well, Destiny's still being updated on Xbox, so is it really that dead? If there's one game which you could expect to pull out of Xbox in favor of going exclusive, you would have thought it'd be Destiny, surely, right? But I don't think that's ever going to happen. So maybe we are moving towards this future where Xbox continues to service hardware to a small audience, similar to Steam Deck, and PlayStation just doesn't see it as competition anymore at all. And PlayStation's just like, yeah, well, those die-hard Xbox fans who refuse to get a PlayStation, like me, maybe we'll bring it to them. But who knows? We're moving to a weird time.
Well, I mean, I'm
gonna take the pessimistic position, though. I don't think it's coming ever.
Yeah, you and taking a pessimistic approach. I mean, name a more iconic duo. Right?
Jez and Warcraft? That's pretty iconic.
I don't know. But, I mean, there was a certain time, years, not that long ago, where Xbox games on PlayStation, first-party games, was kind of like something that never was going to happen. And in fact, Jez Corden had called fanboy copium at one point in December of last year. That.
Well, to be fair, there was a lot of fanboy copium.
Sure. And
I said FUD. I said it was FUD.
Oh,
and there was a lot of FUD.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, things constantly change. You know, look at where the industry was in 2013 and look where they is now 11 years later. Whereas it'll be in 11 years, couldn't tell you. But I do think it's interesting that they've talked about it, because if this was a few years ago, I don't think they would, because there wouldn't be any reason to. Like, there wouldn't be any reason in the PS4 era of, like, Sony wanting to bring a game to Xbox. But now it's like, well, for this type of game and the way the industry is, maybe it's it's kind of what I said before about the idea of, with every one of these games that are made by first party, you have the idea of, like, what's good for the game and what's good for the platform, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what's good for Helldivers 2, the game, is probably to be in many places as it possibly is. But what's good for the platform is like, well, no, it's probably good to be just on PlayStation and not on like Xbox or Switch. But then sometimes, as the effect that game could have, I'm like, okay, well, Helldivers has been out for 2 years and it's not doing anything anymore for PlayStation. Maybe we can explore bringing it to a different platform, because we've extracted as much as we can out for the platform. Then that's something that, you know, could be explored. And this all is going to really be is just exploratory talks, right?
I mean, PlayStation and Sony, PlayStation and Xbox are communicating directly more than ever because of Sea of Thieves and Xbox's multi-platform strategy. So there probably is a channel there where it can be like, these talks can actually exist and take place. But see what happens, man. I would love to see Helldivers on Xbox, of course. I do play it on PC. I do own it. But I would prefer to play it with my Xboxy friends and stuff like that who aren't on PC. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, dudes.
Yeah,
Jones says, I imagine Jez in a wheelchair with all his injuries. Yeah, man, for real. I'm struggling, bro.
You are struggling. But I'm gonna be on Xbox Era tomorrow with Nick.
Oh damn.
So we can we'll probably be, I don't know if we'll be discussing this again, but maybe I'll give him a hard time, because getting a hard time is something I do, because maybe that's when I'll tell my rumor about Nintendo and my Uncle Ray, who works there. Early discussions and all. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Hey, if it doesn't happen, I told you it was early discussions.
You know, there's actually a relevant news story to this, which I don't know if you heard, Rand.
What?
But Fortnite, Epic Games, and Nintendo were in talks to bring Samus to Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
But Nintendo was like, yeah, we'll do it, but we only want Samus to be visible on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And Epic Games like, nah, that's not what we're about, broski. And Nintendo's always a bit of an asshole, right? But they've been even more of an asshole than usual recently. Did you see that they've sent the CMA takedowns to not Epic Games, Gary's Mod, telling Gary's Mod to remove any content that even vaguely resembles Nintendo characters.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and that's 20 years worth of mods and content that Gary's Mod needs to now figure out how to take that.
Hey, you remember when there was some journalists out there that were pretty damn sure that Nintendo and Pokemon were going to sue Pal World?
Yeah, it's weird. What happened with that, Rand?
I don't know. It's been 3 full months since then, and I haven't seen any lawsuits. So were they just wrong or what?
It's almost as if you can't sue someone for making a parody.
Oh, so they fall under the parody thing. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, the characters aren't directly exact replicas of the Pokemon, and furthermore, you can't really copyright a really super simplistic characters. And I'll tell you why Nintendo doesn't want to go down this road, because it'll open them up to tons of other lawsuits where people are like, hang on a sec, I designed a cartoon that looks a little bit like Pikachu back in the early 90s. I want my money. Because let's face it, the Pokemon designs aren't that creative. They're not that creative. I probably doodled things that look like today's Pokemon when I was a kid. So I think Nintendo would be opening up a huge can of worms if they went down the route of suing Power World. But hey, I'm not a lawyer. I could be wrong. It'd be fun to see where Microsoft sits on that issue.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
We have Chris Burns with the 199. Longtime fan, first time getting to listen live. All right, hope you're enjoying the show.
Hey, nice to see you, man.
Yeah, I know not everybody can listen live, but we do appreciate whenever you do listen, whether it's later here on YouTube or on Spotify or iTunes after the show has been posted. We have Joe Repco, aka Flame, member for 24 months. Hello, Xbox 2 Just wondering if any of you have tried Another Crab's Treasure. It's honestly a hilarious, challenging, and fun Souls-like.
I haven't tried it actually. I own it though. Well, it's on Game Pass, right? I think. So I own it by default. But I am quite interested in this. I've heard good things. My reviewers really enjoyed the game. So yeah, I'm quite interested in it. Are you gonna give it a go, Rand? Are you interested in it at all?
No, I'm not really that interested in it. I didn't even know what it was. Then somebody mentioned to me that, oh, it's a Souls game. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, it's a Souls game for kids.
Yeah, so I was like, all right. So I watched the trailer and I was like, oh my god, it sort of is. But I don't know. Maybe I guess it really depends because my plan is, all right, finish Tales of Kenzera. Really liked it. Hopefully more people check it out. I was immediately going to start playing Stellar Blade this weekend. Going to go through that. Probably then start Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Go through that. And then I was thinking about playing Fallout 4 because the update just came out, which the next-gen update people have been waiting for. And guess what? It's bugged, baby!
Oh, no.
Yeah. There's like this whole thing where apparently quality mode is bugged on Fallout 4. I think that I even saw something on PlayStation, like if you redeem the game, the Fallout 4 version on PlayStation Plus, it doesn't get the update or something. So it doesn't get like the next gen update for the PS5 version or something along those lines. And I was like, oh man, you know, Bethesda, what's going on with these bugs? How do you not figure this stuff out? But, you know, they even went and they announced what, Jez? That Fallout 76 had 1 million concurrent players? Or not 1 million concurrent. Fallout 76 had 1 million players throughout the day. 1 million daily active users for Fallout 76.
That's very good.
I think. Which, and then throughout, if you combine all of the games in the Fallout universe, a little less than 5 million.
That's crazy.
All based off of the popularity of a TV show. And also, I think the Fallout games are all on sale everywhere as well. I think you get like 4 for $5. They basically had a huge Fallout sale to coincide with the TV show. So smart.
Very smart. I think it's incredible. I know people who haven't played games for a really long time who've got back into it because of Fallout. I know people playing Fallout 1 and 2. I know people playing New Vegas for the first time because they'd played 3 and 4, but somehow missed New Vegas. I know people playing Fallout 4 for the first time because of the next gen update, which I suppose we can segue into in a minute. And then a ton of people playing Fallout 76, which I guess is the flagship Fallout game right now, ironically, after being the biggest pariah since No Man's Sky, and also having a No Man's Sky-like renaissance right now, which is... Oh, hang on. Is it Renaissance or Renaissance?
Renaissance.
I'm going to say Renaissance.
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
Thanks, Dad. But yeah,
Thanks, Dad.
It's been fun. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I'm a Fallout guy, so it's fun to watch.
Shocker. Jez is
Shocker!
a Fallout guy.
I'm a Fallout guy.
Are you enjoying your time with Fallout 76 again?
I am. Is this the gameplay footage you got up?
Yep, it is. I'm watching it right now. I have it up and I'm watching it myself. But you're just building stuff right now, so it's kind of a little boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did spend a lot of time building in this playthrough, but I'm really enjoying it. There's obviously been a lot of changes since I played it. When I played it, the game had no NPCs, and Bethesda had this vision that players would be the NPCs, that players would make factions, and that players would sort of be the vendors and, build up like a little role-playing society. And there is elements of that. But I think without the story and the NPCs, it was super jarring for a franchise that's kind of become known for RPG gameplay. So, but at the time, I really enjoyed it. I got a sec. I got a
Are
sneeze.
you okay? Is your neck all right?
Yeah.
We don't make sure that your neck's okay. Are you should get a neck brace.
Oh Jesus Christ! Anyway, shut the fuck up, man. Anyway, where was I before I was rudely interrupted?
You what by yourself and your bodily functions?
You made me sneeze.
Oh, I did, huh?
Yeah.
Sure, it wasn't your neck from being out of whack.
With your shenanigans.
Is it?
But I completely lost my place now. This is all your fault.
Hey,
yeah, I was
blame
talking about
yourself for sneezing.
Yeah, so Fallout 76 used to have this really great, actually, I thought, approach to environmental storytelling. I really actually enjoyed Fallout's environmental storytelling. You had to like kind of use your eyes and look out at the game world to, get the story, because it did have a story. It was just sort of like you were experiencing the apocalypse. Everyone was dead, and you were sort of piecing together all this drama that happened before you got there. And you do that through reading terminals, reading notes, but also like finding corpses that have been killed or killed themselves, and all this kind of weird stuff. It was some really great environmental storytelling. It really truly was, and I really enjoyed it when I played it how it wanted to be played. But I understand that was like a lot of effort on my part to sort of enjoy it for what it was. And it was a big departure from classic Fallout. So I think I wrote in my review that my headline was something like, "Sorry, Internet, I like Fallout 76, but I still don't recommend it to everyone." And that's because like I knew that some people wouldn't like that approach, but also the game was broken. It was so buggy at launch, man. It was so buggy. It was crashy, server issues, all this kind of stuff. So it was like hard to justify recommending full price game when it was so buggy and it did have all these issues. And there was this like really aggressive depth of field effect that you couldn't turn off at the time. And I think they'd done it that way to make the game more performant or something. But it was ugly. It actually like gave me a headache. That like I felt like my eyes were constantly out of focus while playing it. But now you can turn that off, and now it's 60 frames per second, and it's got all the next gen enhancements and FPS boost mode or whatever it is. However they've done it, I can't remember. But they've and yeah, loads of rubber banding. To be honest, it still has issues, server issues and stuff like that. I think like it's clear that the engine wasn't designed to be a multiplayer engine. And I think it's probably quite ingenious how they've retroactively turned it into a multiplayer engine, but it's clear that they're really pushing it. They are really pushing it, I would love the game to have had rentable dedicated servers like Minecraft. I think there's still a lot of potential for that kind of improvements to the game from that direction. But yeah, the big thing about it now, Rand, is that since Wastelanders, it actually has story NPCs with decisions, with factions, and choice and consequence, and all this kind of stuff. There are these instanced story rooms, which you'll enter a building which is unique to you and your story. So it's kind of like it's a really great experience when you consider all that stuff. Because when I came back on my high level character, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and it was throwing all this endgame content at me that I didn't know how to do because my character was level 60 at the time, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing because I hadn't played since launch. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to delete this character. I'm going to completely delete it. 7 days playtime for science and start over and experience what the new player experience is. And it's like a completely different game. It's like, oh, now there's a story. Now there's NPCs. Now there's cutscenes. Now there's like crazy shit happening in those cutscenes, and it almost feels like a tried and true Fallout game now. You know, my decisions actually had an interesting outcome in the first quest with the way I think it's what's it called, the Waylander or something. There's like a bar near the start, and there's like a little quest there, part of the Wastelanders DLC. You have to choose whether you're going to help these asshole raider faction or these, you know, seemingly innocent bartender sort of shady people. It's again morally grey and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've been loving it. I think the game's had a huge turnaround. I think the game still has issues in the late end game where it's like you run out of things to do and it becomes a case of like, do I really want to constantly grind the same stuff over and over again? Do I really want to go through that and all that kind of stuff? But I think now that there's had this influx of new players, I kind of imagine that Microsoft's going to be like, you know what, we need to reinvest in this game because right now it's being developed pretty much completely by Double 11 from what I understand, and Double 11 made Minecraft Dungeons. They also they make a ton of stuff. Double 11 also made the amazing RimWorld port for Xbox as well, which is honestly one of the best PC ports I've ever seen. Like RimWorld's a really complicated PC game, and like for me, I would have been like, "There's no way they can make this playable without a mouse and keyboard." But they bloody well did it. They did an amazing job at that port. One of the best port jobs I've ever seen. So I actually ended up preferring playing it with a controller. That's how good that port was. So really great dev. I hope they get a bunch more money. I hope that we get some even bigger updates. I haven't done loads of the content yet. I haven't done any expeditions. I haven't hunted down any cryptids. There's loads of stuff I haven't done, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm really glad that it's having this renaissance right now because, you know, I don't have enough games to play apparently. Rand. So yeah, that's my take on Fallout 76. Come and play with me.
No,
we've got a Fallout 76 thread on XB2 Discord, discord.gg/XB2, where we coordinate playing together, or in theory anyway. I haven't had much time to do so yet, but I really want to give us a shout out to Trent on our server, who's given me tons of caps and gear and stuff. That's another thing about the game, man. The community is amazing. The community is so nice.
I do hear that. It's very welcoming.
You do get your raider kind of people who build trap shelters though, and they lure you into their shelter with the promise of, you know, cheap water and stuff like that, but then you get stuck and then you get murdered. So it's kind of like there is that sort of Fallout aspect to it where players can, you know, you can end up in a dangerous situation, but there should be that aspect to it because it is still supposed to be Fallout at the moment. So yeah, really enjoying it.
Awesome. Yeah. So is anybody else playing Fallout? Any of the Fallout games, whether it's Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 76 or Fallout Shelter? It's kind of crazy that the success of the TV show really did this for the games, and it kind of just, you know, really. It sort of makes you just like, maybe they should. You know, it's funny when people talk about like TV, and they always lambasted Xbox for that. But I mean, judging from like how well, you know, Fallout has exploded in popularity because of the TV show, there might have been some, you know, some truth to what maybe some of the strategy was. Where
Xbox
if like you create
Sorry, go on.
Where if you create a really interesting and fun TV show that appeals to, you know, a lot of different demographics, even ones who don't really play games, that just by the virtue of doing that, more people are going to want to check it out. Right? And we've seen a few examples of that now. And, you know, I know we have a bunch of other TV shows that are going to happen, or movies based on the games, but who would have thought?
I can't imagine, right? I see. This is the thing, right, about Microsoft and Fallout 76 by extension, which I suppose like you can't really you can't really attribute Fallout 76 to Microsoft. That was like
No.
100% Bethesda developed and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, right? However, so the Fallout TV show and also, the everything going on with Fallout 76, all of that was Bethesda. All of that was on Bethesda. A huge drama about, I would say Fallout 76 really damaged Bethesda's image.
Sure
And
did.
even now, there's people who are like, oh, I'll never play Fallout 76. I have people in my own team who say they'll never play Fallout 76, and they call it pay to win and all this kind of stuff because you can buy scrap kits which make it easier to repair your stuff, but you don't need to. It's kind of like a lot of those convenience kind of objects in, like the convenience objects in Dragon's Dogma as well, which caused a lot of controversy at the time. It turned out that you never really needed that stuff, and honestly, they kind of detract from the game, I think, because if you're kind of cheating by buying these repair kits, I feel like you don't have to. The game kind of loses something if you do that. You don't have to scavenge for materials. I think scavenging is part of the fun, but not for everyone, I guess, and that's okay. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. What I was trying to say ultimately was, imagine if Sony had stuck it out with The Last of Us factions, right? Now Sony really doesn't like this idea of releasing a product that maybe is controversial or it isn't like immediately perfect and great and all this kind of stuff. And Last of Us factions, it sounds like they were. I mean, we don't know for sure what the state of Last of Us factions was. Maybe it was just really truly terrible, and it was just irredeemable or something like that. But we don't know. We don't know what the situation there was. We don't know. But assuming that it was at least as good at Fallout 76, maybe Last of Us factions could have evolved into something really good. And when you drop like The Last of Us TV show season 2, if they do one or keep it going
Well,
or whatever,
they are doing one because they're filming it, coming out next year.
Well, there you go. Imagine like Last of Us factions. Yeah, maybe it would have launched in a state or a mess, and maybe it would have needed a lot of updates to get going. But now look at Fallout 76. It's making money hand over fist, and it's having this renaissance moment, and it's because they stuck with it. They stuck it out. And if they hadn't, then they wouldn't have that now. All they'd have to go on is the Fallout 4 port, which by all accounts isn't looking so spicy, So yeah, it's interesting when you think about the different approaches that some of the different developers have, where it's like, yeah, we'll accept that this is going to be a pariah when it launches, but then we'll fix it up and make it good eventually, But hindsight's 2020, baby. Hindsight is 2020. I mean, what's The Last of Us season 2 gonna have? What game is it gonna have to sell on the back of that? I kind of feel like your TV show is kind of your marketing for a game. And yeah, a bunch of people will play The Last of Us 1 and 2 after season 2 launches, but it's not going to have the same kind of impact that a new game would have or a service game would have,
Right.
Lots of people are rediscovering Fallout 76, and it's like a new game for me. No, but we'll see.
All right, we have Nate Dogg with the $4.99 saying, Rand, correction, Fergus I always say his last name wrong. Fergus Urquhart. How do you say Fergus's last name, Jez?
I don't know.
Okay, Fergus, the head of Obsidian.
We'll just call him Fergus.
Said twice last year he wants to make a new Fallout before he retires. Josh Sawyer said in XCast as well. I mean, hey, we all want to do things. Doesn't mean we will do them. I don't know. I'm of the opinion, and I very well could be wrong. Maybe Tom Moore knows more, or Tom Henderson, or whatever. But I just think that Obsidian's going to do what they want, and that will be their own stuff. So I don't really think we will see a Fallout game, which they really should fast track one by somebody. I mean, it's too late now, honestly. I mean, I guess it's not too late because I mean, I guess if you started working on one, maybe you could, align it for season 3 in 2028 or season 4 in 2030, the series finale in 2030. Here's a new Fallout game or something.
I might do a special Nick right now.
Oh, okay. Do it. Let's do it.
I might do a special Nick.
All right, hit it up.
They're currently formulating plans on how to get the next Fallout here for us sooner rather than later, which I know is vague as hell. But like we constantly talk about, will we even see Fallout this decade?
No, we won't.
And the answer is, I think we will. I think we will see Fallout.
Bro, the next decade, it's 6 years, dude. 6 years until 2030. Games take at least 4 years to make. They gotta. If they're just talking about it now and formulating a plan now, you're cutting it close. Game delays and all those things can happen. I mean, look.
Yeah, but Rand, you don't. This is different. It's a bit different here because they've already got the engine. It's the Starfield engine. They've just got to kind of make assets for it.
Well, okay, who would make the game? Certainly not Bethesda. It would have to be somebody else.
That's what they're talking about right now.
So
from what I understand.
So so let's talk about this for a second. They've already said Elder Scrolls is their next game, right? That's Todd's next game, even though he's executive producing Indiana Jones. That they've started work on Elder Scrolls. Are you suggesting that they would shelve Elder Scrolls to start working on Fallout 5?
No.
Instead?
I'm suggesting someone else is going to build Fallout
Someone
5.
else at Bethesda would come in and make a Fallout 5.
Not necessarily.
Would it be
Bethesda.
Fallout 5 or would it be Fallout : City?
It might be Fallout : City. But I think, yeah, they're putting a plan in place. And I don't think it'd necessarily be Todd's main Bethesda team doing it.
Who
That's
would you?
my belief.
Well, give me a educated guess about who would do it then.
I think probably Obsidian.
You think Obsidian's gonna do it?
I think so, yeah. That's based on nothing. But I just know that they know they can't let this take that long. That's the gist of the current plan. It's not gonna take. We're not gonna have to wait that long for it.
I mean, I want to believe you, and I do believe.
Well,
I do believe you.
I'm doing a special Nick.
I do believe you.
If it doesn't pan out, plans just
hey,
change,
early discussions, bro. They could fall apart.
Yeah, they could fall apart. My uncle told me.
Uncle Mitch, right? Uncle Ray at Nintendo. Uncle Mitch at Obsidian, right?
Yeah, Uncle Mitch. Uncle Mitch at Xbox and Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob.
Well, don't forget Aunt Sue at Bethesda.
Oh yeah, Aunt Sue at Bethesda. She told me as well.
Yeah. So maybe we could see something happen by season 4, the series finale of the Fallout TV show, coinciding with something brand new Fallout. That'd be fun. At least you would get some, tangible game and collaboration. But yeah, maybe Josh Sawyer is free. Maybe he has an idea. I don't know. It's super interesting. But yeah, you sort of have to do something. We don't know what
Josh Sawyer's leading.
If he's leading anything, really, you never know. They might be helping on Avowed to get across the finish line. Maybe Avowed's supposed to be this year.
Josh also said to IGN recently, he because they were asking him, there's some. I'm not going to spoil the TV show, but I already know, even though I haven't watched it. There's some controversy about the way Fallout New Vegas is handled in the Fallout TV show. Some people don't like it. Some people just accept it as part of evolving lore and stuff like that. But there was always this weird rumor that Todd hated and was jealous of Fallout New Vegas. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about this, and I know that to not be true. But still, the Fallout but New Vegas fans are not happy about some of this stuff. And I can't remember. I saw the IGN article about it, and I think maybe either Josh talked about it in an interview, or he mentioned it on Twitter or something. But he said, he basically said, I got no control over Fallout 76, so I don't really care about where it goes or what the direction is. I kind of feel like if you were working on the next Fallout, you probably wouldn't say that. But maybe he's just being hyper professional and being like, look, I worked on this as the third party, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I believe that we will get it this decade.
Right.
Yeah, which is not exactly, I think, optimistic, even if it is this decade. Will we even still be here at the end of this decade? Interesting to think about.
Downtaku with the 10 in the super chat says, I'm playing Eiding Chronicle, Manor Lords, Top Spin 2K25, another Crab's Treasure, and I'm supposed to be picking up Stellar Blade 2. If only I was a millionaire with unlimited time like Rand.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. Rand's always trolling about how, like, it's hard for me to complete any games, but he just forgets that he's a millionaire with infinite time.
No, that's not why I complete the games. It's because I don't play all the games all at once and get sidetracked by stuff like you do. You're constantly just loading stuff up all the time and just adding to your backlog instead of clearing things from your backlog.
Is that so?
Yeah. I wish I had unlimited time. And I wish I was a millionaire.
You'd have more time if you stopped reading millions of books all the time.
Yeah, I did just finish a new book, by the way.
Ugh.
So last week I had finished book 12 of Dresden Files, Changes. And this week I started The Will of the Many, book 1 of the Hierarchy. And I finished it last night. And it was fucking amazing. 5 out of 5, no notes. Incredible in every way. And I am dying for book 2. Because that ending was... Oh, man, books are great, aren't they? Oh, my lord.
Jones in chat says, Rand has no time because he's busy researching a camera to get.
Yeah, that's true. Gotta make... I got choice paralysis when it comes to that. So many options. Thomes with the 10 and the super chat says, could the rumored achievement rework be that they remove them to prepare for game stores on Xbox who will not have achievements? For me, games on Xbox without achievements would suck. Yeah, that's kind of one of the things, though, that would actually separate the platform from other platforms is like achievements and stuff like that. So I don't really see them getting rid of it. In fact, you would probably want to more double down on it and make them more interesting or make more changes to profiles and sort of stuff to make people actually want to spend more money. I mean, I know games are the most important factor of it, but also there's things you can do to make you want to spend more money even if you don't really want to play a game. I know PlayStation has like the trophy levels and stuff, and there was that, leak that Jez, you had mentioned years ago about the career system, which I think is a missed opportunity for Xbox. I'll straight out and say it. Like, they should have implemented that because that could be something outside of games and services as a thing that could essentially lock people in place. People talk about being digitally locked. Right? I'm digitally locked. I'm not going to switch. But I do find there are plenty of people that will move to PC from consoles, even though, and they can't bring their games with them, Jez. They may not necessarily switch from PlayStation to Xbox or Xbox to PlayStation, but they'll go to PC because I think they feel not only will the games be better, but their purchases will live longer on PC through Steam than they would in other places. So people are willing to sort of move to a new platform where they're not, where, their games, they're leaving their games behind and now they're going to build something on PC. So I sort of feel like having a career system and all those things that would have went into it would have been another sort of locking mechanism to keep people on the platform. And I think it's a mistake and a missed opportunity for Xbox to essentially let achievements and all those sort of things that they started, that they pioneered in the gaming space, and let other people sort of leapfrog them on, I think it's a mistake that they haven't done anything with it. That it's been 7 years, 8 years now without any meaningful improvements to the service and any new things they would add. And I think, there'll come a point where maybe they're kicking their ass about how those things should have been implemented. If now you're going into an arena where, hey, it's about like the platform. Well, what separates your platform from other platforms outside of exclusives, which you may or may not have, or Game Pass? Well, this other thing, career system that we could have had would have been a differentiator. But we'll never know because they decided to focus on other things at the time. So I do think
differentiation is going to be something that Microsoft needs to not take for granted. And I'm actually going to write about this because I've actually got some ideas on how they can do this. Amazon Prime Gaming is a good idea. A good example to follow. I don't know if you're aware of Prime Gaming, but if you've got Amazon Prime, you get a bunch of free shit for loads of games. Like, I just got 5 tier skips for the Overwatch Battle Pass because I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber.
Right.
Now, shouldn't I be getting that with Game Pass, really? Shouldn't Game Pass be offering me that? I kind of feel like that's what Game Pass should be. Game Pass should be offering me great perks, great skins, and all this kind of stuff for being a Game Pass subscriber. And I think Microsoft's low-hanging fruit that they haven't really tapped into yet. So I'm going to write about that next week, probably. But they have started doing it a little bit. 3 Overwatch skins are available with Xbox Ultimate right now. So there is sort of hints that they are thinking like, you know what, we should be doing more here. And, people love skins, man. There are some skins for Sea of Thieves which sell for hundreds of dollars on eBay because they're super rare and stuff like that. Now, the value obviously goes down if everyone can get them on Game Pass. But if they're like a really awesome skin that looks really cool and people want it, and you also sort of like available for 1 week only or something, then it does create that FOMO effect. Now maybe Microsoft like thinks, oh no, we shouldn't do that. That's mean, But it's like, bro, this is business. You can be mean to people. I give them dark ideas. This is dark Jez right now. But that's the kind of stuff that I think would create value for Game Pass and differentiation. And also, furthermore, it's also like could be a reason for someone on PlayStation to subscribe to Game Pass, even if they're not getting the games. If they are someone who's obsessed with skins, And, with the Stellar Blade discourse that's been popping off, it seems a lot of people really do care about skins, Rand. Like, care about skins a lot.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's what most of the monetization in free-to-play games is all based around, is skins. I mean, of course people care. I'm just happy I'm one of them who doesn't. I don't care. You never get me to buy any of those things. Ever.
Well, all right. You're just too cool, man. It's just a fact. You're just too damn cool.
No, I just don't care. Like when I know I've told this story before, but when I played Mass Effect for the first time, I just used the default character.
Well, aren't you special?
I mean, I am special. You're just gonna have to get used to it, Jez. And I have a fully functioning neck as well. That doesn't bother me as I wing it around. Like, when you take your neck and you do it a circle, does your neck hurt?
Yes, actually it does.
Wow. We got Josh with the $4.99. Says, my wife watched the show and now wants me to set up her with a Fallout 4 this weekend. Her last games were The Sims and Jade Empire. The show is doing work. Ooh, that is going to be interesting. The last games, Jade Empire and The Sims, and going right into Fallout 4. Whew. That is you'd have to. I would like film her reaction to that. That'd be funny. But yeah, it gets people interested. BT Maverick with the 20. Gaming insiders sound like this day in age astrologists with their vague horoscopes quote, considering reporting, I'm sure the Bears are considering bringing back Tom Brady as well. All the love to Nick and Jez where they actually nail it. And we have Dizzy who says, hello, boys. Hellblade 2 Metacritic predictions.
84.
80... 87.
87. Okay. I'm going to say 84.
I don't know.
I would have said 87, but Xbox tax, so you got to take some points off.
I got to play the game and see for myself. And then I'll be like, all right, well, what should the game get? Or will I like it more and therefore think it should be higher and then be surprised when it rates lower? Or do I think it's going to rate lower because of that, and then actually people are like, oh my god, no, this game's actually that good and it rates higher? Very interested to see what would happen with Hellblade when eventually that does release in less than a month from now. Jez, I know this is going to be a tough topic for you, but BlizzCon has been canceled for this year. Rip.
Yes.
Rip to BlizzCon. I want to say, God, I think you told me about this months ago.
I did. Yeah, I heard that BlizzCon was skipping this year a long time ago, a few weeks ago. I wasn't sure if it was permanently cancelled or just skipping this year. And it turns out, that's why I didn't want to report that it was permanently cancelled or skipping this year if either one of them was wrong, because I knew people were going to be really mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew it wasn't going to happen this year, so I thought I'll wait. I'll just wait, and it would have been bad to put that out there without full context, I think. But yeah, BlizzCon is skipping this year, and it's not cancelled though, and it wasn't Microsoft mandating it or anything like that. I think the truth is that they just don't have anything big to show this year, because The War Within will be out by then. Diablo Vessel of Hatred will be out by then. So do you really want to have a BlizzCon just to talk about a new season for those 3 games? I don't think so, right? So I think they'll come back to BlizzCon when they've got when they want to reveal the next expansion. They'll probably do it next year. They'll reveal the next expansion for WoW. They'll reveal the next expansion for Diablo, and maybe really reveal a new game project. Because Rand, another bit of Blizzard news this week, they seem to have greenlit a major new project.
Okay.
And they're hiring, not low level people, but like producers and directors and stuff. So this sounds like a major undertaking kind of game. Any guesses on what it could be? What could it be? StarCraft?
I mean, do you think it's StarCraft?
I don't know. Hey, there's a ton of stuff it could be. Well,
what do you want it to be? I guess is the question.
I think.
Would you want it to be related to any of their existing franchises or something brand new?
I wouldn't hate something brand new, but I think brand new is so risky these days, and Blizzard's strength really is in these rich worlds they've already got. And they've tried to do brand new a couple of times, and it either hasn't worked out or it's just been too expensive. So I kind of feel like if you're doing brand new, you have to sort of really ramp up your marketing to sort of explain your product to people. But if it's a Diablo or a Warcraft or a StarCraft, people already know what that is and what that means. So I think you save yourself a lot of headaches by doing something with an existing IP. So personally, I would like to see it in Diablo, Warcraft, Overwatch, or StarCraft universes. And I think it would be cool if it was StarCraft related, because that's the one that's dormant right now. And also with Microsoft doing this big push into, Korea and similar markets. Where StarCraft is super popular. StarCraft was like a national pastime in Korea for a time, and it's kind of wild that Activision just let that phase away. So I think they need to do a StarCraft 3, a full RTS, and Microsoft clearly knows RTS. Age of Empires is still one of the world's most popular real-time strategy games, and yeah, it's not a huge genre on the same scale as like a Genshin Impact or something like that, but it's a really passionate fan base that still want to play those games. So I think you need to do StarCraft 3, a true real-time strategy, StarCraft 3 in the tried and true spirit of the franchise. But StarCraft is also this sci-fi universe that has this potential to be something more too. So a StarCraft shooter would be amazing. Whether it's third person or first person, either of those would be great. Or even if it was something smaller, StarCraft Metroidvania, what would that look like? Side-scrolling StarCraft? That could be awesome too, But and also potentially less expensive if you were trying to introduce the franchise to people. So yeah.
Well, I mean, Phil didn't
Yeah.
mention StarCraft when he talked about, during all the lead up to the acquisition. He mentioned certain franchises, so I would expect StarCraft to be back at some point down the road. Whether it's an RTS or a different game in the genre. I mean, I do expect it to come back. I mean, even before, you mentioned that World's Edge working on a new project. Do you know
World's Edge?
Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, okay. So you don't know what that is?
No idea.
So now we have Blizzard working on something else?
And there's also, but World's Edge, they've got room to grow. Mm-hmm. And also you've got Relic, who made Age of Empires 4. They've just split off from
Sega.
So they might be up for it. So why not? Have Blizzard do executive producer work on it, and have World's Edge and Relic working on it as well. I think that's a universe I want to live in, man. And then also, maybe even make a new team for a StarCraft shooter, make a StarCraft Netflix show on top of it, and boom, you've got announcements that you've got 1 million players in a day, 5 million players across the franchise, just like Fallout. There you go. I've just saved StarCraft for you, Microsoft. Yeah, and I'll let you.
When was the last StarCraft game? What year?
Oh god, I don't know off the top of my head. A long time ago. StarCraft 2 came out a long ass time ago, and the last expansion for StarCraft came out. I don't know off the top of my head. Were we talking like 10 years more, maybe? Something like that. A long ass time.
So it's been a while. Do you think
it's been a hot minute.
Do you think BlizzCon comes back, or is it just permanently just gone forever?
No, it's coming back. They said so. It's just this year. They don't have anything to show this year, but when they do, they'll come back.
Right. So just saving some money, essentially. Do you expect we will see Blizzard at the showcase in June?
Yes.
Well, I mean, like Diablo 4 will most likely be there with the DLC.
I think you'll see Diablo and Warcraft at the Xbox event this year.
Oh, you think we'll see Warcraft as well?
Yeah, but it'll just be a
trailers.
Recap. For Warcraft, it'll just be a trailer for War Within, and I think we'll probably see more. We might have a bigger blowout for Diablo as well. So yeah, Blizzard will have a presence at the Xbox show. I would bet money on it. Legacy of the Void was 2013 or 2014, according to Brett Bingham in chat. Legacy of the Void was 2015. Yeah, so
it's been a while. Okay. I know StarCraft used to be huge, and I think it's still huge in South Korea, right? Like it's an official sport.
Yeah,
it was
it's
an
still
official
big.
sport. Yeah.
I mean, the game still gets balance updates and things like that, and there is a small esports scene, so it's not dead, but it's just been very poorly, managed and abandoned by Activision, who, kind of like Square Enix. If it's not, it didn't meet their expectations because it didn't have a bajillion players, like even Fallout, not Fallout. even Heroes of the Storm has a lot of concurrent players that a lot of developers would really love to have, but it's not enough for Activision. But I do wonder if it's enough for Microsoft. And if you look at the way they treat some of their other niche kind of franchises like Age of Empires and so on, then I think Microsoft's okay with it as long as it brings value to the whole platform. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We got 09C Mine with the 10. The super chat says, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Great, get to catch you live again for once. Keep up the good work, gents." Thank you. It's good to be live with everybody. And if everybody watching, do us a big favor, hit the like button, please. Share this out, let everybody know we're live, and
smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that like button. Speaking of the showcase, I might as well talk about this. It seems that Gears might be there, maybe, kind of, potentially.
Yeah.
Because and we had mentioned this before. I think we even talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I forget like the reasons why it was like a news item then, or why we thought it would be there. I'm drawing a blank, honestly, on that. But this time,
I just said I'd bet money that it'd be there.
Well, no, because I put it in the title, and I think there was. I think it was because somebody teased it. Maybe somebody at the Coalition or somebody had teased something like that. But now we have another tease.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Where a Gears of War actor is teasing a June reveal for Gears 6. And, yeah, it was recently claimed that the event is planned for June 9th and Microsoft is preparing to announce a new Gears of War and Call of Duty games at the show. I think it was because maybe it was Tom Henderson who had said that. Or maybe it was Tom Warren that said Gears would be there or something. I don't know, something like that. But Liam McIntyre, who's the voice actor for JD Phoenix, basically replied to somebody and said, whether or not something that happens at the end of Gears 5 is canon. I don't want to spoil anything for a game that's only a couple years old, but he says he has no idea. What?
It's only been a couple of years.
I mean, it's been, 2019? So it's been 5 years? Still. He says, "I have no idea. I think Gears of War tells us all in June, smiley face." Now, June is when Microsoft holds their showcase. So, is this just a slip of the tongue? Was he not supposed to say this? I don't know. How do you feel? I mean, it's starting to seem in the lineup that Gears of War 6 is going to be at the show. And you're the resident Gears lover. Not that I'm saying I don't like Gears, because I do. But you're the one who always talks about it. With the gore and the chainsaws and stuff. But really does seem like Gears is going to be there. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm just kind of like, it's been a really long time
since
we had more Gears.
Do you miss Gears?
I do miss it, but I just can't. I'm excited because of how long it's been. Like how much extra? Because there was this sort of meme that the Coalition was carrying Microsoft for a while because they shipped a bunch of projects really quickly. Tactics, and then Gears 4 and Gears 5, and the DLC as well. And they, with all that, people were rightly saying that they were carrying the whole brand. But now they've been quiet for a really long time. So what they've been doing, they've been upgrading their tech. They've been doing lots of new stuff.
Helping out other studios with their things, like Undead Labs with State of Decay 3, right? We know that the Coalition's helped out on certain projects, right?
Yep, they've been helping on State of Decay. They've been helping on Hellblade, I think. So they have been doing that, I suppose, to some degree, and trying to help with other projects. But I hope that isn't all they've been doing. I want to believe that they've been, working on their own stuff as well.
But do you think? I don't know. It does seem like 2019 to 2024, and even if it comes out next year, which who knows when. I mean, that's a long gap in between games. I sort of wonder if that's sustainable for them. Like, let's do a Gears game every 6 years, 7 years. Especially because, like, I can't imagine the Gears multiplayer is bringing in a lot of money through, you know, because I think they stopped really supporting the Gears multiplayer with updates and stuff for a while. So I can't dare imagine, like, the multiplayer is actually bringing in any sort of monetary value at this point. I don't even know how many people are actually playing Gears, but it is a you know, foundational Xbox franchise. So yeah, I mean, the thing about this year's showcase is it should be pretty damn good considering all the bullets in the gun that Xbox has and all the games that Xbox has been working on. The question is, do they show it all? But I would imagine Gears is in a place where it's like, yeah, you could finally show it, whether it's in a teaser trailer, not necessarily like a CGI announcement, but like a, you know, maybe like a trailer like Fable did to a certain extent, where it's not really like any gameplay. It's just like like Gears is next, and here's a close up on Kate's face or something, and like, you know, it says coming. I doubt they would even give a year, but essentially knowing that Gears is on the way, giving us a little look at maybe some of the improvements that they've done to Unreal and how well it would look and what have you. But yeah, this is I mean, you're starting to get a little hype for the showcase about certain games being there. And I mean, hopefully they completely nail it, because they could, you know, you could have a Gears reveal, you could have an id Software reveal for whatever they're working on, even maybe potentially something along the lines of ZeniMax Online, whatever game they've been working on for 4 or 5 years at this point. You know, a deeper look at South of Midnight, maybe another look at Fable, a re-reveal of Contraband. You know, are we going to see State of Decay 3 once more? I mean, it's been 4 years now. What about Everwild? I mean, Rare just showed off their new building, for Christ's sake. We've seen more of their new building than Everwild, Jez.
Yeah, right? Everwild. But
I mean,
I have
you know,
no idea.
Do you show Everwild or do you wait? I mean, there's Perfect Dark. People have been waiting for a long time for updates for Perfect Dark. Is it finally the time to unveil it and be like, all right, here it is, coming X? I don't even know when they would say when it was coming. They probably won't even date it. But there's a lot of games that Microsoft is finally like coming to the end of development on, or at least getting close to the end of development, where they're like, okay, this will be ready in a year or two. And it's like, all right, well, then this showcase should be spectacular. And, you know, Gears...
I certainly heard that.
I sort of wonder if Gears would be the ender then. Right? Like, where does a Gears 6 even fit in if you're putting together the show? Does it open? Does it close? Is it somewhere else? I mean, not to mention, like, Clockwork Revolution. We haven't... I mean, granted, we're not going to see anything between now and then, but, like, you could see another look at Clockwork Revolution... Starfield DLC, like there's all these sort of things and all these games and all these projects that Xbox is working on that potentially could be there, where you almost sort of wonder if they have any room for any third-party stuff, because they have so much first-party content from games, actual like new releases, and updates to older ones. Because you know Sea of Thieves will be there, as it always is, and you know Diablo will be there with an update, and World of Warcraft, like Jez says, and a Call of Duty game's gonna get revealed. You know, does Banjo finally get revealed? What about a Killer Instinct 2? What about a Gears collection? What about the next Forza game? Right?
I do think they need to do they need to give fans some shout-outs. They are well aware of the fact that people aren't super stoked on Xbox right now. So, yeah. I want to see something truly unexpected.
Truly unexpected. And what would that be for you? What would be your definitions of something truly unexpected?
Banjo, to be quite honest with you.
Do you personally even care about Banjo, or are you more looking at it from like the Xbox fan perspective?
Oh yeah,
Like,
from a fan perspective, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't care about Banjo at all, but like that's why like it would just be cool that they do that for the fans because that game is not a moneymaker.
Sure.
Definitely not a moneymaker. So if you're doing that, it's purely fan service. But I'd love to see them do that. I'd love to see them commit to the fans and stuff instead of just sort of chasing service game revenue, which I play a lot of service games, so I'm okay with it. Um, but you know, people who are not into service games, there's this whole discussion on Twitter the other day. Is gaming in a rut? I saw
Yeah, that
this.
was from a tweet from Spawnwave, I believe. That kind
Yeah,
of
and
yeah.
it caused some drama because some people were like, "Oh God, how can you say this? It's really cynical, all that kind of stuff." But I kind of see where he's coming from. If you're someone who's really into kind of old school games, you know, single player games, a lot of time, there's been some great like old school kind of games recently, but not many. You know, you've had Dragon's Dogma, which is old school in the very aggressive sense of the word, I think. And then Baldur's Gate 3, which is again very old school in the old school sense of the word, but with a modern coat of paint. And that's kind of like I think what people of a certain age they wanted to see a lot of their like favorite franchises basically give them the same experience, but with the modern visuals and stuff like that. Like I know I'm never gonna get a true Dragon Age sequel. You know, I don't. The Dragon Age Dreadwolf does not look like a real Dragon Age game to me. It looks like it's going to be a hack and slash or something like that, which is not really what I want out of Dragon Age. I'm sure it'll be an okay game, but I just know it's going to disappoint me as a fan of Dragon Age. Um, you know, overall. And so yeah, so fans of like those old school kind of games, I'd love to see them get a bit of love from Microsoft's budget, but especially given the fact that there's how can they possibly expect to fit in more service games without cannibalizing their own stuff now? Like Sea of Thieves, I could never even consider playing Sea of Thieves. I just got too much other stuff to do. You know, is there really an audience in the service game market that isn't being served right now from Xbox? I literally think they've hit the limit. You know, so make some smaller games for God's sake. Give us some like in between experiences, great Game Pass titles, and headline grabbing projects that people wouldn't have expected. I'd love to see that.
Mm. Are you going to be at the LA in June for this?
I'm not sure yet. I think it may be.
Do you
But we'll
want to
see.
be?
I want to be, yeah, of course I want to be. I want to see all the cool people. I want to see all the Xbox fans, all that stuff. I love going to seeing the community in person. Even if it is like nightmare travel, and I just get injured while playing games these days.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to watch
it's a
out for your health.
yeah, it's a lot of hard work getting to LA for someone as injury prone as me. But yeah, Rand, we should probably move on to the big topic, which is Xbox's financials.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to talk about how we got Xbox VR coming.
Oh yeah,
So what is this?
Meta's
Meta is partnering with Xbox for VR headset, but like
not
obviously
really.
not really, but
They're putting a coat of paint on a Meta Quest and calling it an Xbox and pre-installing Game Pass Cloud on it. It's not Xbox VR. Like
mm,
Microsoft has no faith whatsoever in that market. They're literally just keeping their foot in the door just in case. They're doing the bare minimum. They don't believe in VR.
the very bare minimum. And there's
The
also
bare minimum.
there is an Xbox showcase next week.
Oh yeah, the IGN Xbox thing,
IGN
right?
it at Xbox April 29th.
Yeah.
Is this where we see Kenna? Remember that
Maybe.
game was rated by the ESRB, or is that more of a June showcase type of thing? What about dun 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 Silk Song? That's probably not going to be there. That'd be like a showcase thing, right? I do think they did say the games that, or at least, I don't know if all the games were mentioned, but there will be a look at Dungeons of Hinterberg, 33 Immortals, the new game from the Life is Strange devs. I forget the name of it, and something else. So, at least those are the ones for sure that are going to be there. So, yeah, I mean those are pretty good. They've gotten good with teaming up with IGN to showcase the indie stuff and whatnot. And I'm sure there'll be new games announced and Game Pass stuff. So check that out for Monday, the 29th. But yeah, I suppose
I saw with regards to the IGN thing, I saw some funny memes where people like, will IGN remember to list Xbox as a compatible platform at the show?
Uh-huh. Yeah. That is definitely a thing. We have Dub, member for 33 months, who says, I really hope Perfect Dark delivers when they show it, because I feel like all the people will talk about how long it took to make. I mean, yeah, that is, 2020 to 2024 is definitely a long time to see, and then we don't even know, even if they show it this year, you don't even know when it's actually going to release. It could not release for another 2 years after that. So
I'm quite nervous about Undead Labs in that context, because the CGI they showed for State of Decay looked incredible, and it gives you this impression that, oh, they're going for photorealism with State of Decay 3, but are they? Probably not. You typically don't get photorealism with a service game that relies on getting lots of new content, because it takes a long time to add photorealistic assets in your updates if you are doing it that way. So the gameplay really needs to show up when they do show off that game. It's been in development for a really, really long time. And State of Decay has always been this game where I've been like, this game has so much potential. This system, this engine, this design mentality, the procedural apocalypse is like really cool, but State of Decay 1 and 2 got nowhere near realizing that vision. So I've got high hopes for that game, but we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I guess we'll talk about Xbox financials, because it's a tale of two numbers, shall we say?
Tale of two numbers.
They set records, right? Even like later on, where we have some quotes here from Satya, but they had a record quarter 3 thanks to Activision, and they're definitely. It's weird how some outlets want to report this stuff. So basically, this is for January, February, and March. January 1st to March 31st, Microsoft's quarter 3. Gaming revenue was up a staggering 51% year over year, including 55 points of net impact from Activision to a record $5.45 billion. Xbox content and services revenue rose 62%, driven by 61 points of net impact from Activision, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Xbox hardware revenue declined 31% year over year. So, you have Xbox's gaming revenue way up, content and services way up. Obviously, like, in comparison to the year, when you're explaining the year-over-year metric, it's because last quarter 3, in 2023, they didn't have Activision, and now they do. So the Activision stuff is added, and Activision makes a lot of money, which is one of the reasons Microsoft purchased them in 2022, or their intent to purchase, right? So their revenue, they're making tons of money. But their hardware is flatlining. Their hardware is not in a good space right now, and it's sort of been that way since really the end of 2022. Their hardware is kind of just in a constant decline. Some outlets love to kind of, they reported this by saying, Xbox numbers are up deceptively because of Activision. Like, they don't want to, like, it's like, yeah, everybody understands it's up because of Activision, but, like, Activision is Xbox now. You need to get over it. it's almost like some of the outlets are basically saying it's not fair, or this isn't like, what's the word? It's like it's it's like bullshit or something. When it's like, I get when it's like,
the word deceptive has been used, and it's like, how is it deceptive? That's the literal reality of the situation.
Yeah. It's just like, and I get it. Like,
it's not as
if you want to compare, like, why is it up this much compared to the same time last year? Okay, the easy explanation is Activision Blizzard, sure. But something tells me that as this going to go on, they're always going to keep mentioning, like, oh, well, it's because of Activision Blizzard. Like, yeah, no shit. They spent $70 billion for this. They use mergers and acquisitions to help grow their business. That's the whole point of mergers and acquisitions, people. Right? To grow your business. And Activision Blizzard is going to help them grow their business, which is clearly doing, right? Content and service revenue up 62%. Gaming revenue up 51%. That is fantastic numbers. You know?
Yeah, and a cozy manatee in chat says, imagine if PlayStation hadn't bought up Insomniac, you know.
Yeah.
How much heavy lifting has Insomniac done for Sony?
I mean, they only cost them $190 million too. They got a bargain for what is one of the best developers out there.
They got an absolute bargain for Insomniac.
They sure did. Obviously, like I said, tale of two numbers, right? Microsoft and Phil was like, hey, it's not about, what do they always say? That the business isn't about selling hardware, it's about selling software. And I mean, you can definitely see, like, well, their strategy is working because their revenue is out of this world, right? But their hardware is definitely, I mean, there's no other word than to say, like, it's abysmal. A 31% year-over-year drop, and I think last year they dropped 30% too. Their hardware is just not, I don't know, like, it's just, we all thought maybe at the end of 22, like, oh, okay, well, they'll get the games out, and maybe the hardware will be better. They do some price drops, and that'll help, and all the ABK stuff, the Game Pass, and maybe that'll do something, and they'll put Call of Duty in there, and you know, marketing and that stuff might help. And, well, like, the games kind of, I think the biggest problem with Xbox has been their lack of consistency about stuff. It's like, you have a great 2021 with Halo, Forza, and Psychonauts, but then your 2022 is just abysmal. And then the 2023 comes, and it's like, one game's really good, and then the next game is crap, and then the next game after that is good, but then the next game after that is kind of just whatever. And then you basically go from Forza Motorsport in October, and, like, the next big game for you from you isn't until May this year. And yeah, I just don't really think Xbox is actually giving people good reason to buy their systems at the current prices they're at. I don't really think Game Pass is that exciting of a proposition to get people to, like, into a store to buy something. Like, hey, buy this so you can save money on the games you play, especially when most people only play, like, a couple games a year. Maybe Game Pass isn't necessarily for them. So I'm not surprised that the numbers are down. Also, like, when you compare it to the quarter last year, I mean, February had the biggest game of the year, and that was Hogwarts, which did numbers, was also only on next gen at that point in time, and it also had other games like Resident Evil 4 and stuff that was driving hardware engagement. And Xbox did have Pal World, but I'm not really sure I'm not sure Pal World drove. I mean, it clearly didn't drive hardware sales, and maybe that's a reflective of Xbox not jumping on it and marketing it much, or just the game just being this success that nobody could predict. So, like, nobody was really out there trying to push the consoles alongside Pal World, because it was just something that, like, nobody in their right mind knew or had any idea that could potentially be that big. So it's a missed opportunity. And then from your own stables, you don't have anything. So it's like, in comparison to the other platforms, it's like you say, like, yeah, why would you get an Xbox? On top of that, you have the business update where it's like, hey, we're bringing these games to other platforms. Creates a lot of uncertainty around the brand, where some people might feel, I'll wait and see. I'll hold my money on this. But I don't think the hardware situation is going to get better from them at all. I mean, unless they cut price significantly, because that's what I think they need to do. They need to be significantly cheaper than PlayStation to get people to look at Xbox and be like, okay, that is a significant savings. Maybe I want to go there. And they need to have a long stretch of games that are really great for an extended period of time to get people to be like, okay, these games, you know, they seem like they're really good. They're an event. Maybe Xbox is a platform I want to choose, etc., etc., etc. Does that help? Maybe. Does Call of Duty with Xbox marketing help at the end of the year? I know a lot of people kind of hope it will, but then you could also say, well, maybe it won't, because this will be the fourth Call of Duty of this generation. People probably have already picked the system that they want to play Call of Duty on already. And I doubt they're going to, you know, someone who's on PlayStation already, I doubt is going to be like, oh, well, it's free on Game Pass over there. Well, let me buy it over there. But maybe it does actually do something. Maybe the marketing for Call of Duty, it will be, you know, tied in with it, and maybe it actually, people do get interested in that hardware. But I mean, that's more of a wait and see sort of thing. Yeah, but I mean, it's not 31%. I mean, it's it's pretty bad, no matter whatever way you want to say it. I almost sort of. I almost sort of
projection.
Let me ask you this: do you think Microsoft? I know they care, because they'd obviously want the numbers to be higher, but I almost sort of feel like they. I don't want to say they don't care, because they do. Obviously, you make a product, you want people to buy it. You want as many people to buy it as possible. I guess someone had DM'd me earlier and asked me this question, which I'll post to you. It was essentially that, do you think Microsoft is doing enough to make Xbox consoles something that people should buy? Or are they just not even bothering anymore? Is it they're not even trying? That was what somebody asked me, and I'd be interested in getting your take on it.
I don't think they are trying.
No, you don't think so?
No, and I think that's also intentional. I think their assumption is, and Phil talked about in the Polygon interview, their assumption is everyone who's ever going to buy a console already owns one now.
Okay.
And
so the market's tapped out, essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Phil hinted at in the Polygon interview. So the only option you've got is to sell Xboxes to existing Xbox One users, which Microsoft hasn't really, isn't really worried about upgrading Xbox One users. I would estimate about half of the users right now are on past gen.
Okay.
Right. And Microsoft's okay with that. Microsoft's okay with people playing Fallout 76 on Xbox One, because it's the same profit margin. It's literally the same profit margin. So why would you bother upgrading them in that scenario, right? If they can still use their Xbox One and get the same experience, expend the same amount of money, why bother spending marketing dollars to upgrade them for no reason? It's the margins are the same or less, right? So they won't worry too much about upgrading Xbox One users until there's a genuine need to do so. And the genuine need to do so will arise when there are games that are solid state drive native, basically, I think. And there are a few of these, but not that many. Not many games actually need a solid state drive, despite Sony's assertions to the contrary. But I do think Harry Potter moved the needle, and I think Grand Theft Auto will move the needle, and I think Call of Duty with Xbox marketing will move the needle a little bit, potentially. A lot of people actually think Call of Duty is a PlayStation exclusive because of that marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how much casuals don't really care about how the products work. They see Call of Duty with Xbox logo on it, they'll think it's exclusive, And if Call of Duty Gulf War actually is good, and it should be good, it's been long in development for a long time, then with Xbox marketing, I think that will move the needle for Xbox hardware. with that audience, and that audience really is the people who are driving the sales. I think like that audience they're just lazy, like me. They just get in from work or school and play the games they know, and the games they know are still available on PS4 and Xbox One. So Sony has given their users more reasons to upgrade. But you have to wonder, would they have made more money if they'd have made their games cross-gen? They probably would have.
I mean, they did make their games cross-gen, except for a
all
few.
of them?
Well, the only ones that aren't were Spider-Man 2, Demon Souls Remake, Ratchet and Clank and Returnal, I think.
God of War Ragnarok?
No, God of War Ragnarok was cross-gen. Horizon Forbidden West was cross-gen.
Well, I reckon if Spider-Man was cross-gen, they would have probably sold an extra 5 million copies, probably. And they wouldn't have really lost anything out by doing that. But they would have, not had as much sexy numbers to put in IGN headlines, maybe. But they'd have better margins because they wouldn't have had to, sell people a new console, of which the margins are slim to none. So, who has a healthier business right now? You have to sort of make that question too.
Nintendo.
Do we know Nintendo's profit margin?
I mean, they report it every year. I mean, they have to. I mean, the problem is like
Nintendo's not as big as Xbox in terms of revenue, though.
Sure, they aren't. I mean, they absolutely don't make as much revenue as everybody else. But they probably might make more profit though. I mean, I guess the problem is you don't, Tencent, I guess would be. I mean,
well, even
still,
you want to look at
the console manufacturers, right?
We can kind of discount Nintendo in a way because we don't.
Hey, Donataku's not going to like that.
Yeah, but fine. That's fine. He doesn't have to like it. But I think for the sake of argument, most people aren't here saying Xbox should copy Nintendo's strategy and make childish games. Do you want Xbox to put all its resources into games like Zelda and Mario? I don't think you do.
I mean, I personally don't.
Yeah, and I don't think the market does either, because I think the reason Mario sells is not because it's a great game; it's because it's Mario. Not that I'm saying it's bad, but I will sit here and tell you that the modern Pokemon games actually are bad games, and the only reason they sell is because it's Pokemon, and I can say that as a Pokemon fan. And
I can say that because I'm a Pokemon hater.
Yeah, so I don't think you want Xbox to follow Nintendo's strategy. So the usual argument is Xbox should follow PlayStation's strategy, but it's also like, well, PlayStation's margins aren't so hot. The games are very expensive, and forcing people to upgrade to PS5 doesn't actually really help their margins at all. So we've moved to a new sort of industry where everything sort of needs to be cross-gen because ultimately it's anchored in PC, because the games have to be compatible with PC if you want to really tap the full market. So I think Xbox is just leaning into that more and more and more. And the problem is that the discussion becomes, well, Xbox is going to stop making hardware. And I think a lot of people, and we've been over all this before, like some people just want a console war and be like, I want to be able to say on Twitter, Xbox is dominating PlayStation in hardware sales. But would that actually help Xbox's business? Not really. It wouldn't. Because they'd just be, pretty much overlapping the market that's already there. They might as well just sell the games to PlayStation users instead, right? But at the same time, they don't want to completely sacrifice their hardware ecosystem because, as we've seen in the past, giving away your platform is a great way to lose your political power over the direction of an industry, right? And we've seen this with mobile phone. Microsoft has no authority in phone. So now they're trying to push this AI stuff. They're not going to be able to do so because Apple and Google are just going to be like, we're going to put our AI on the phone, not yours. So no one's going to use Microsoft's AI. Microsoft doesn't want to do that. And they don't want to be in a situation where they're completely lost control. So they are still going to make hardware, even if it's just a smaller audience. Now, I'll do a comparison for you. Nobody worries about Steam. Nobody worries about Steam and Steam's business model. Me and Rand actually had a back and forth about this before the show. Nobody worries about Steam and Steam's business model. No one's questioning the Steam Deck. No one's sitting there saying, oh, well, no one buys a Steam Deck. Why is Valve bothering with it? Because they know that Valve can subsidize it. Now, Xbox owns Minecraft. Xbox owns Call of Duty. Why wouldn't they keep making hardware? They can afford to do it. And also, billions of dollars passes through these platforms. Even if it's not growing year over year, it's still growing in total. 30% down year over year doesn't mean they're selling nothing. And I saw an analysis that suggested that last quarter, Xbox sold around 800,000 consoles. That's millions of dollars of players, hundreds of millions of dollars, if they end up spending a lot of money, you know. So you're telling me that that's not a viable market to have, you know, and is that really worth all the doom and gloom and all this kind of stuff? I think it's kind of... I'm just kind of over it, Rand. I'm just kind of over the doom and gloom about the Xbox needs to beat PlayStation in order to stay in the game. I think we're well beyond that now. We are well beyond that as an industry, and everything's cross-platform now, and the ship has sailed. Since every major platform came back to Steam, and Steam is like a great driver of visibility in your games, and all the streamers and influencers are on Steam, they're kind of like, you have to be on Steam, which kind of kills, in essence, the idea of an exclusive anyway. So I'm just really over this kind of stuff. And Sony's best in chat says, if Xbox keep going this route, they'll hit Wii U numbers. Yeah, but the Wii's still... I mean, Nintendo's still around. So, like, even if they did hit Wii U numbers, they wouldn't give up on hardware. They'd just make new hardware. They'd change the rules like Nintendo did. When Nintendo had the Wii U flop, they changed the rules, you know. And another thing about Nintendo is, like, the Wii might have sold a lot of units and stuff, but a lot of it was to, you know, on the back of the Wii Fit craze. And it wasn't necessarily incredible margins for them. If people just bought it for Wii Fit and then left it in a drawer, it's kind of similar issue that Meta's going through with the MetaQuest headset. A lot of people buy MetaQuest headsets, but they don't buy a lot of games and they don't actually use it that much, you know. But no one thinks Nintendo's going to die. No one thinks Valve's going to die. No one even thought Nintendo was going to die when the Wii U was a massive flop. The GameCube didn't do that well either, you know. And a lot of people, I remember these discussions when I was a kid, people saying like, oh, Sony's PS1's going to kill the Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 sucks. And people had those discussions at school and stuff. But for some reason, everyone thinks like if Xbox isn't killing PlayStation, then they are doomed. And that's just not the reality of the situation. Not the reality of the situation. We've still got a lot of factors that could increase sales this gen. And I think you will see sales go up again this gen year over year eventually. And it will be like, and again, the goalposts are moved. And if like Xbox reports that Xbox console sales increase year over year, well, people are just like, oh, well, that's only because it decreased so much before that it's increased now, you know. The goalposts move again. And there's just nothing Xbox can do to sort of cut through that constant moving of the goalposts, you know. At the end of the day, if the games are coming, and they are, and you're having fun on your Xbox, and hopefully you are, there's just really no reason to worry about this stuff. There's no evidence that major third-party publishers are pulling out the platform. We still get, from software games, still get EA, Activision, Ubisoft. Well, not Activision, they own Activision, but Ubisoft games, all the big publishers. Take-Two, Grand Theft Auto's coming. The cheapest way to get Grand Theft Auto will be on the Xbox Series S. That's like, that's going to drive at least some people over to upgrade. You know, all those people who are playing GTA on Xbox One S right now, they will probably upgrade to a Series S as their upgrade path. rather than go all the way up to the more expensive model. You know, in some cases, a lot of people just don't want to spend the money. You know, so yeah, I just think it's fine if Xbox isn't blowing up Sony's business in order to make money, and I'm pretty chill about the whole thing. Just kind of over it.
Just over it. Just you don't want to talk about it no more?
I just want to look to the future. I want to know what Xbox's plans are for this hybrid console. I want to know how that's all going to work. I want to know, is it still going to give me a good experience on my television? I want to know these kind of things. I want to know what the future of gaming looks like in general. I'm just over this whole discussion about is Xbox dying and all this kind of stuff, because that's always been the discussion. They used to say Xbox is getting out of gaming. There was I remember when we used to talk on this podcast, Rand, when every time an analyst said, "Oh, Satya's gonna shut down Xbox and they're gonna divest Xbox or sell Xbox or shut it down and they're gonna completely quit gaming." But now the goalpost has moved. Everyone knows that now they've bought Activision Blizzard King, they are absolutely dead serious about staying in gaming. So now the goalpost has moved. The goalposts are no longer Xbox is getting out of gaming or Microsoft is getting out of gaming. The goalpost is now Xbox is going to quit hardware, you know, and people will still say it even after Xbox reveals a handheld and a hybrid console and a suite of other hardware initiatives that they're working on, new controllers, all this kind of stuff. And people will still say Xbox is getting out of hardware unless they're killing Sony. And I think that's weird, man. I think that's weird. But the whole industry is a sport for a lot of people. And the sport aspect of it drives clicks and engagement. I get it. So, yeah. That's my take.
Interesting.
What's your take?
I mean,
give us your take, and then let's do some Patreons.
I mean, my take is, I mean, I
struggling a bit.
Well, I'm trying to like even position like where do I even come at this from? Like the idea, I know, like because I think the people are worried about. Okay, I chose Xbox as my primary platform. I have all these digital games that are locked to this platform. The future for Xbox hardware looks iffy, right? To some people. Xbox is going to reveal this new hardware, but based on the current hardware and what they're doing, I'm not really sure people are going to want to purchase it. And if I am one of those early adopters, and this is where I want to build a library that's locked to that ecosystem, the fear is that over time, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff because if nobody's buying the console and the hardware, developers might look at Xbox as a platform that they can just absolutely skip and not lose much. And then you as a person who's bought the hardware be sitting there being like, well, wait a minute. Why can't I play X, Y, Z? And then it just becomes, oh, I've wasted my time and my money on this product. I should have bought I should have bought a Switch 2. I should have bought a PS5. I should have just invested in PC and started over there. That's like the fear is like, okay, Xbox right now, we thought this generation was going to be great. We set it up. We have two choices, high end, low end. Got all these games, all these acquisitions. Didn't pan out the way that anybody thought it would. Clearly, I guarantee you, Microsoft also thinks that this generation didn't pan out the way that they thought. So now it's like, okay, well, is there really any interest in Xbox at all? And is it just going to be something that declines all the time? I'm worried that I'm basically, going to be buying into a dead end platform.
But
At least,
it's a weird. It's a weird to think that based on the hardware sales, because they said in the same breath they have more active console users than ever.
sure.
Now, is the assumption there that they're lying about that?
No, but I mean, just because you have the highest console usage you'd ever have now doesn't necessarily mean you'll have that in 6 months, will it?
No, it doesn't. And I think that's
Things
that's
can
when I
potentially
think
change.
I think when it goes down, the active console users, I think that's when they'll think we really need to
I also sort of think
reconsider.
like the idea of like when you say they're not even trying anymore, and it's like, oh, they sold 800,000, like they sold 800,000 units.
And that's to be fair, that is unverified.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think some people balk at the idea of like being like, well, wouldn't our business be better if instead of selling 800,000 units of consoles that we sold 2 million? Because that would mean more people and more people spending money and more people getting locked in and more people to be playing games.
I mean, I know they don't love it,
Well,
but
yeah.
I think their assumption is that there's nothing they can do.
Well, see, that's also
kind of the
some
impression
people.
that
Some
Phil gives
people look
me.
at that as a defeatist attitude if they think there's nothing that they can do. Like, well, we're just stuck in this rut. There's nothing we can do, no matter what type of games we make or how much we release them, or whatever we do. We're just gonna be sitting here.
But you have to remember, Sony cut their forecast too. I think it's not Xbox thinking we're doomed because of we're Xbox. I think that's their take on the entire market right now. And I bet I would be surprised if Sony exceeds their guidance on hardware sales. I would be surprised and
No,
impressed.
they probably
But maybe they
won't.
will.
Maybe I don't think they will, because Hogwarts was gonna be absolutely huge for them. But then again, maybe Helldivers was as well. But I think people bought consoles for Hogwarts because it was Harry Potter. Where I'm not
I mean,
necessarily sure
this has even affected us. Like our our um our numbers during Hogwarts were crazy. The traffic. We did millions of guides for Hogwarts, and we got crazy, crazy traffic. And sometimes when we talk in our business meetings, it's like, well, we don't have a Hogwarts this year, so take that into account when setting our targets and stuff like that. And it's probably the same for Xbox and Sony when they're talking about these big zeitgeist grabbing tentpole games like a Grand Theft Auto or Hogwarts or Harry Potter or a Spider-Man or whatever else has driving a load of hype right now. Um, you know, Fallout. Imagine if Fallout 5 was launched as a timed exclusive on Xbox right now. You can bet your ass they'd be selling some consoles. So it does come back to games eventually. It always does.
And
And I
Xbox
think
really hasn't had many of those at all over the last
yeah,
years, right?
yeah, the game situation is poor.
I mean, I'm just
So
saying that.
that's another reason why they need their own platform. Why they're not going to stop making their own platform, because it offsets, having to make your own games. I don't think they want to be just a publisher. I think that's like completely
Well, of course
unrealistic.
they'd rather have their cake and eat it too. They'd rather, like, why wouldn't you want your own hardware platform where you're taking 30% of all the Fortnite microtransactions and everything else?
Yeah,
Of
and
course you
they'll
would. It's
keep doing
free
it. They'll
money
keep doing it.
essentially, right? You're
Yeah,
selling other
they'll
people's
stick to it.
games, but if less and less people are accessing the store to buy stuff, then your revenue's going to go down, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I get people that message me all the time with their concerns about Xbox's strategy and the multi-platform push and stuff, and they ask me if I'm worried or if am I upset about it. I'm like, why would I let it upset me? Nothing. Like, I don't get overly emotional about any of this stuff, right? I like to look at it like, okay, how is this going to work out? Like, I'm really interested in, like, okay, the Steam discussion we had last week. Like, I'm thinking, like, how does that even work on your console? Like, thinking about, like, the ramifications of that. I'm not, like, you know, someone who's, like, going to go to bed and then sit there and flip over and start crying because Sea of Thieves is on PlayStation or, you know, Starfield was. Like, that doesn't affect me emotionally whatsoever. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff. But I know for some people it does. I know for some people they are emotionally invested hard into this. So when I tell them that, I was like, hey, you just got to do what's right for you. Right? If you think this isn't, you know, like, then build a PC. Start building a library on Steam. I don't think Steam's going anywhere. Right? And maybe it's because
I don't get this. Why do people think Steam is safer than Xbox when Xbox, you know, is just as big as a platform? And it really is. I don't get that.
I mean, people do. People think that. Maybe it's because
shouldn't.
because everything's on Steam. You know, nothing.
That's because of PC being
well,
PC.
that's PC. But regardless,
shouldn't Xbox try and tap into that by being more PC like then? You know, this is the thing. Like, everyone thinks I don't know why people.
I mean, Xbox has had a PC store for years now, and according to everybody that uses it, it's pretty fucking awful. So,
I mean, not. I'm talking about console. You know,
to be more like PC console wise, yeah. But then at that point, it's like, why do the half measure and just go full? Just build a PC
because they want the cut. They want the 30%.
I'm not talking Microsoft. I'm talking like customers, right? Because you're never going to get a PC, a full PC experience on a device that you buy, because it's gonna, you know, it can only be so much. You can go build your own if you want.
Well, it's like Steam Deck. You know, it's the Steam Deck model. Give people a console-like experience in an open device. You can install Battle.net or Genshin Impact or League of Legends on it if you want, but you're gonna have to deal with the bullshit of Linux if you want to go down that route. And it'll be a similar situation here, probably. That's assuming Microsoft doesn't lock it down in some way, and they might well do. You know, I just think like, at least for me, I think I agree with you, Rand, that people need to do what's right for them. If you think the Xbox strategy is bad and you're worried about what it means for your digital library in the future and you want to move on now, then do it. Like, the best time to move on to PlayStation is right now. But I'm kind of like, I want to see where it's going. I don't think Xbox is going away. I don't think developers are going to stop supporting Xbox either. They've got more support from Xbox than ever, and because of the content fund that is Game Pass, I don't think Game Pass has reached its full potential yet either. We'll see Call of Duty, and I do think Game Pass perks is underdeveloped, and they should do more with that too, with exclusive skins and other stuff. I think there's loads of things that can still do to explore making the exclusive features of the platform more exciting. And, you know, I'm going to keep pushing for that. I'm going to keep advocating for people who do stick on the platform. But at the same time, I don't think it's viable for them to just follow Sony's model into the razor-thin margins universe. So I'm embracing change. And that's kind of where I am with it right now. I don't think they can follow Sony's model. I think we're beyond that now. And I even think Sony needs to change too. And you'll see Sony change.
What?
You'll see Sony day and date on PC. And then where do they go from there? Where do they find the next load of growth that they need? What do they do after that? It's never enough. This is the thing. It's never, ever enough.
Mobile.
Good luck with that, Sony. How are they going to make that work, you know? It's even hard for Activision to compete there. All this stuff is really hard. It's a weird industry. We've got into a weird sort of... The industry's wrestling with the idea of saturation, you know? And saturated markets are not sexy. They are not sexy, you know? They're not sexy to Wall Street and stuff like that. And they are wondering if we're at saturation point now for core console, for core experiences. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. But up until, you know, relatively recently for us, we've only known an industry that was growing, and it spiked hard during COVID in lockdown when everyone was stuck at home. And now we sort of started to see, at least in my lifetime, the first example of negative growth. And that's purely as a consequence of, COVID creating a bubble of everyone being stuck at home. Like even Windows Central, we had a huge growth during COVID because everyone was stuck at home and they were bored and they were reading Windows Central. And I really appreciate all the support, thank you. But it inflected our numbers, and then it made us look bad year over year. We were down 40% year over year coming out of COVID last year, and now we're back up again 30% year over year. But that's after being down 40% year over year because of the weird, dent that COVID put in the numbers. And I think Xbox is suffering that to some degree as well. But also the fact that service games are always updated on Xbox One. Also the fact that people just want to play service games all the time, and if they work on Xbox One, then it's fine. It's almost like the Xbox One and PS4 were too good, and now that people just feel satisfied playing FIFA forever on those systems, it makes current gen look bad, and that kind of stuff. So it's just a different industry, and I think the real mistake was for Microsoft and Sony to claim this was truly a new gen. It's not a new gen. The Xbox Series S and X are just the Xbox One Pro and the PS4 Pro. They're just the same consoles again, really. They've got an SSD in them, but what do they really do that's any different? The Xbox Series S and X literally have the same operating system. They have virtually all the same games. So of course they're not going to sell as well. Because we've got to a situation where, we're hitting the end game of hardware. These systems don't need to be any better or be any more unique. They're more PC-like now in their upgrade path. Like people don't upgrade their PC every time a new graphics card come out. I skipped the 3000 series Nvidia stuff completely.
Some people do.
A lot of people do. A lot of people are still on the RTX 2000 series or even earlier. A lot of people are still on mechanical hard drives, for God's sake. But that's what happens when you switch to an x86 development structure. Everything's more PC-like now for Sony and Microsoft, and people don't need to upgrade. They don't feel the need to upgrade, and I think that's fine. I think that's fine as long as the total number of users don't go down. And so far, they haven't been. There's still people playing on Xbox One because they still got loads of games for it. What is bad about that? Whatever. I'm here for the ride, man. I'm here, ride or die. I'm here to the end. I'll see what happens. I'll be using it till the store gets shut down and everyone's right, and everyone was right all along, and Xbox was doomed, and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't believe it right now. I believe it's fine.
Right. I mean, Satya Nadella also talked a little bit about, he had some comments about that. He had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, which was more than any publisher. He mentioned that, he said, "We are committed to meeting players where they are by bringing great games to more people on more devices." Obviously, like, Xbox had put the 4 games on PlayStation, 2 of them on Switch. I'm sure there'll be more Xbox games that come to other platforms in the future, whether that's this year or next year. I mean, that's not going to end. I don't at all.
Yeah. I don't think anything's off the table at this point.
Yeah. And he also mentioned they set records for game streaming hours, console usage, and monthly active devices. Now, the console usage thing, because you had talked about that before, about how their console usage is like the highest it's ever been. And when you say that stuff, people always say, "Well, no, it's also PlayStation and Switch." But are they talking strictly about Xbox in this regard, or is it?
PR told me they're talking strictly about Xbox. They got those comments clarified. They're not talking about their games being played on PlayStation. They're talking about literal Xbox users.
All right.
And you can choose if you choose to believe they're lying, then there's no more discussion to be had about it. But then we're just operating on assumptions, and you just want to it's fit a narrative is essentially. I mean, if you want to believe they're lying, then you can believe anything you want,
Right. Sony is the best with the 5 says, I don't like Microsoft, but I enjoy the show when Emma works. Seeing the perspective from Team Green was good. Keep putting on a great show, guys. Well, thank you. Angry Hippie.
There are a lot of reasons to be annoyed at Microsoft right now. I mean, have you seen that they're putting ads in the start menu, for fuck's sake? What are they thinking?
They're Microsoft. They're going to try to do whatever they can to make as much money as they can. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about, like, I don't know, the thing I'm more, like, frustrated about is, like, the games. The games are taking too long to get here. And it's
the games issue is the biggest issue for me. I'm not worried about hardware. I'm not worried about them stopping making hardware at all. I'm more like, where are these games we've been promised? We've been waiting a long fucking time for this stuff. And it's honestly strange how long it's taken for some of this stuff. And yes, there was a COVID. There was a big COVID. A big spooky COVID happened, and that is what it is. But how long are we going to be using COVID as an excuse, man?
Yeah, well, no, I don't. People don't use it anymore. But it's just like, all right, it's been a long time. Let's go. Hellblade's coming up, and Avowed, and all those other things. It's like, finally, it's just taken longer than we probably thought.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you, I don't think hardware's going anywhere. They're gonna make hardware probably as long as they feel it's relevant and there's a user base for it. It's just some people think that it's gonna go away because they think the sales of the consoles will drastically decrease every single time, and that there's no I mean, this is all Microsoft's own problem because they're the ones telling people that they don't need a console. So Microsoft is reaping what they've been sowing. When you go that long telling people you don't need the console, are you surprised when those people are like, okay, then we don't need the console?
When have they said that?
There was the, marketing lines with the Forza and Starfield where, no console needed, no console required.
Yeah, but that was directly to people on the Samsung TV.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
it's not like they're out there with billboards telling people don't buy an Xbox.
Sure. No.
It was specifically targeted at people with a Samsung television. And I again, that's not necessarily, I don't think that's a bad thing either. Like, I've got that ad on my TV sometimes as well, where it's like, by the way, this TV has Xbox built into it. Although there is a hilarious bug right now where the latest Samsung TV update broke Bluetooth Xbox controller support. But yeah, it's okay that people play it on their TV as long as they're playing, as long as they're buying, and the Samsung version of Game Pass does have the microtransactions in it and stuff. As long as they're paying and paying into the ecosystem, then we potentially stand to benefit. The problem is we haven't really seen those benefits yet because we're still waiting a million years for all these games. So, like, that is a credibility issue that I do agree with needs to be addressed, more so than anything in my view. And hopefully at the showcase we'll start to see some of the fruits of that.
Wait to E3. Do you feel that it's kind of a BS that only one game from Activision's been added to Game Pass since October?
Well, maybe they're just waiting for an E3 blowout to drop them all in all at once or something. I don't know. But also, I'm kind of like, please don't, because I'm busy.
Well, I think they even mentioned Diablo 4 at 10 million hours played since the game came to Game Pass or something in 10 days or whatever it was, or whatever sort of thing it had.
And that'll be people playing it for the first time too, because that was mid-season. So it's not like people have stopped playing it and come back to it. It's like those are new new players, you know. And is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing either? Maybe they're going to become full-blown Diablo players now and buy the microtransactions, and the devs will get more money and more investment, and then it will grow, and it will get more stuff, and it will be a better game for it. That's the theory. You know, it's not like Phil's paying himself extra money.
Yeah, we have
I don't know, man.
Angry Hippie with the 5. I seen a stat. Xbox at the end of the year, end of next quarter, will make over $20 billion in revenue over the fiscal year. Xbox is not going anywhere. Yeah, I think they said that in 3 quarters they've already made more money than any full years previous. You know, getting Activision Blizzard will do that for you. Devin Cruz with the 5. Hardware will never go away because of money and microtransactions and subscriptions on the console. James Black 94 with the 5. Microsoft will still make consoles, Xbox consoles, but if the sales are going to continue to go down, why would devs even bother developing for it? Yeah, especially if you have Steam on the same device as well.
Yeah.
Why even
I just
bother?
I wanna put this out there. Come with me, guys. Come with me on this ride, this crazy ride that we're going on, where Xbox is doing weird shit. Let's all just embrace it and go along for the ride together. Ride or die, like Windows Phone. Let's see where it goes. I like this weird shit, but I'm a techie guy. I bought a Microsoft Band. I liked Kinect.
Yeah.
So
Did you even use Kinect?
I did.
Yeah.
There was a great game for Kinect that I really liked. I can't remember. Oh, it was cool.
But you can't even remember it.
Blue
Okay.
Estate.
It's so
Blue
amazing.
Estate.
Can't remember it.
Blue Estate.
Oh, okay.
It's called Blue Estate, bro.
Zero cool with the 199. They don't even have billboards saying buy an Xbox. And Donataka with the 5. COVID, buying indie AA studios 2018 plus that need to be built up closer to AAA to make games. It's not strange that the games took long as it did. Yeah. Anyways, let's hit on over up the wonderful people over at patreon.com/XB2 where they can drop some questions. We'll get to those. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. Share this out. Subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, let's get to these things, Jez, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got Omen. Happy Friday. I've been obsessed with Fallout 76 over the past week, and it makes me think a lot about Metacritic scores. Fallout 76 is a 52, Sea of Thieves is a 67, State of Decay 2 is a 68, Elder Scrolls Online is a 71. If reviewed today, I feel all those games would get at least an 80 or above. So my question is this. Should OpenCritic and Metacritic treat live service games differently, and perhaps age off reviews after 2 to 3 years in order to get accurate and current scores for those live service games? Do you think this is a problem that needs fixing?
I agree. That is a problem that needs fixing.
I don't think it's a problem that needs fixing. Because I don't think...
no one asked you, Rand.
Well, he did. I don't think anybody's looking at the Sea of Thieves Metacritic in the year of our Lord 2024. I think it has absolutely zero bearing on any game, years down the road. Like, Fallout 76 is a 52 in 2018. Nobody's looking at that in 2021 deciding whether or not they should play it. It is strictly about the launch of the game at that single point in time when it matters the most at launch. After that, it doesn't matter whatsoever. Because if it mattered, all those games would have no players. But they all do, right? So, Metacritic for those live service games absolutely don't matter after launch.
I disagree.
I don't...
Disagreeing with Rand. Yeah. My favorite hobby. And the reason I disagree is because of fucking Steam reviews, which do get updated, and people do look at them.
Yeah, but then no, you're talking about user reviews on Steam. There's also user reviews on Metacritic.
Yeah, no one looks at those.
Well, so what are you saying? So people look at user reviews on Steam, but not user reviews on Metacritic?
Yeah, I'm moving the goalposts to fit my narrative. But the reason I think that, well, obviously I'm biased because I'm a journalist, but I think I would like it if we could move towards this, because I think it brings more credibility to the review the review process in general if people do re-reviews. And I think the games deserve, because people do look at Metacritic as a prestige thing in the industry, game devs do. And also we know from historical fact that the Metacritic scores are used to determine whether games are, worthy of getting bonuses, and also how they get curated on stores and stuff like that. So I personally, yeah, I think the Metacritic score, the industry should sit down with Metacritic and work out a sort of procedure for doing re-reviews of these games that are service games and that are being actively updated in a serious way. I really do think they should.
Sure, but
For the devs, if nothing else.
That only works if reviewers are going to go and did you guys re-review Sea of Thieves?
Actually, yes. Miles did re-review Sea of Thieves in
2023.
2023, I think.
Okay. Not everybody has the time or the money to re-review something, right?
Well, they should get good. They should get good, bro.
They should. I'm just saying, I don't think the Metacritic matters after a couple years or so. I don't think it has any bearing on whether or not somebody plays it or not. Or
it would. I think part of that is because they don't get updated. I think it would matter more if they did get updated. So
maybe.
I agree. I think that's
it's one of those things where we wouldn't know. We would. I mean, I don't know. Like Sea of Thieves is a 67. But it's like so successful that doesn't matter that it. Like I know, like like the bonuses and stuff, and obviously that matters to the people at Rare and whatnot. But obviously, that score hasn't affected all the millions and the 40 million people playing the game.
The millions.
Now, are you saying that if like instead of a 67, they re-reviewed it and now it's an 80, would instead of it being 40 million, now they would have 60 million, like more people would have played it because they would see that the score has been higher? Or
it's not gonna sell anything, but I think it would be nice for the devs if they could look back and say, look, the game was this way at launch and now it's this way. I think editorially speaking, it would tell.
What about this?
Story.
What about, I've seen people put up reviews for No Rest for the Wicked, and I've seen people complain about that because it's like, it's early access. How can you give it a score?
Well, you write early access review on it. If it's a product that can be sold.
But I would say, hey, you're buying it with real money, so yeah, basically.
Just mark it as early access review. But that's exactly it. You do an early access review, and then you'll do a full review when it exits early access, and then you should be able to do a post-launch review after 50 bajillion updates. And Metacritic should reflect all of those things, I think.
All right. Well, we got Silas. Good day, lads. Back in the day, PlayStation had a reality show where the winner got a game tester job. Ugh, what a horrible job that would be, probably. Well, now it's 2024. There's a new reality show in town. 10 Xbox content creators converge on Rand's Chicagoland estate for a 10-day challenge. Each day, participants engage in a daily challenge to test their gaming mettle. For example, Jez has to complete a narrative game in one day. Rand may have to play a Pokemon game and find a legendary Pokemon. If you complete your daily challenge, you get a buff for your character for the evening battle royale game, which rotates between Fortnite and PUBG. Top 3 get immunity. The others are at the mercy of the voting audience. One gets removed each night. Haven't figured out the finals yet. Winner gets their technological dream. Jez Windows Phone revival. Rand podcast camera. Who would you pick as the other 8 participants, and who would win? So we got Colt, we got Gaz, we got Cognito, we got King. Who else? Who else would you want on this challenge?
Tom Warren.
Tom Warren.
Tom Warren.
We get Special Nick.
He's in the chat.
Tom Warren. Okay.
I think Tom Warren's challenge would be to play something other than Destiny.
Well, challenge failed for Tom Warren.
Oh man, Stein. We need Josh Stein in there, man.
Yeah, who would win? Lord Cognito would win, probably. he probably definitely would win.
Man. I would love to like do some kind of big collabs with the community again, like the one chip challenge. That was really fun to do. We could organize everyone to get on the same page and do something like that. I think that'd be fun. I would win though.
Right. Dave Ramos says, "Hola, gents. Rand, this question is for you. With the announcement that Sea of Thieves has surpassed 40 million players before launching on PlayStation, it has me wondering what will happen first. Here are the choices. Sea of Thieves reaches 100 million players, Game Pass reaches 100 million subscribers, or Jez finally completes Persona 5. My bet is on Jez, but you're the jury here. P.S. I'm pretty sure Persona 5 is the game you gave Jez a year to complete. And as a bonus, and if you'd accept, if you guess right, I'll donate a gift to give away on the channel, digital copy of State of Decay 3, 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate, or a digital copy of Persona 5, depending on your correct answer. May the odds ever be in your favor." Well, let's see.
I can kind of cheat there because I can just be like, well, Jez completes Persona 5 and then force myself to do it.
I don't think Sea of Thieves will ever reach 100 million players. So that one's out the window. Game Pass reaching 100 million subs is also probably never going to happen either. Unless you're Michael Pachter.
Do you know how Sea of Thieves could reach 100 million players?
How?
If they did a mobile version that also synchronizes to the Xbox version.
True. So yeah, I would say Jez completing Persona 5 would be the one. So there you go, Jez. Book and Beard says, now that Microsoft has so many studios, do you think they'll start featuring big games at BlizzCon and QuakeCon that don't come from Blizzard or id? Something like the Outer Worlds 2 or Spyro would fit right in with Overwatch and World of Warcraft. I would say no. I don't think they'll tell them that they need to change their own sort of events so that Xbox can announce and show off other games there. I don't think a Spyro would make sense to show at a BlizzCon.
Yeah, that's always going to be just Blizzard. They have very specific audiences, and they're usually held in the same place. They have like an embedded community with expectations. When Blizzard announced the Diablo mobile game, it was famously a huge drama, if you guys remember. So the announcing like a third party-ish game at those events would be similarly taken poorly, probably. So
yeah. Batman Beyond says, "Hey guys, will Metal Gear Solid 3 remake get a 2024 release date in June? I mean, it's supposed to be this year, so maybe it will. Maybe it could be at Sony's show in May or Xbox's show in June, but probably a fall release, I would imagine." Governor Grimm says, "Hey boys, it feels like a contingent of people in the community keep asking for Obsidian or another first-party studio to make a new Fallout. No doubt this is spurred by the success of the TV show and how long it's been since Fallout 4. Todd has been pretty clear that he sees himself as a steward of the IP at this point, and he's not interested in having another studio work on his IP. Phil and Xbox have been pretty hands-off most devs, and like it or not, Todd is an icon. My question, since Todd isn't interested in farming out the Fallout IP, and some are clamoring for a new Fallout, would you prefer that Phil pulls rank and has another studio make a new Fallout? Or would you rather... Yeah, we did. Or would you rather Todd keep control, Bethesda operates as it has, at least until Todd retires? Admittedly, not sure how long Todd stays.
I mean, we did kind of touch on this during the show in a way. I believe that discussions right now are taking place to figure out how they can get it out sooner rather than later. But like what that looks like, I don't know. Does it look like Bethesda expanding, choosing a different studio to work with? It's honestly anyone's guess. But I think they have gotten to a point where it's like we can't let this lie for this long. There's too much opportunity here that we have to wait until after Elder Scrolls 6. At the same time, we don't want to resources from Elder Scrolls 6 because that also needs to be very good, and Elder Scrolls fans have also been very, very patient. So yeah, I think they're trying to figure out what that looks like. And also, don't forget they've still got Starfield to fix and steward. Because one of the things I've heard from a very, very good source is that they're doing a ton of work to sort of deliver on what people want Starfield to be with the Shared Space DLC, but also free updates to coincide with that DLC. So they got a lot on their plate, and game development being what it is, I think I personally would prefer if they grew Bethesda, had Todd Howard as executive producer, but maybe bring back a vet. Tim Kaine talks a lot about Fallout on his YouTube channel. He's, one of the co-creators, the father of Fallout. And there's a lot of people have worked on this franchise over the years, and I feel like there's enough people out there who love the franchise enough that they would come back and make a dream team to make this work. You've got In Exile, you've got Brian Fargo, who also worked on the original Fallout games. There's a lot of interplay DNA in the ether, and I feel like they can't just let it lie. So yeah, I hope they figure something out, and I completely agree that, I think Phil should pull rank, but I don't think it's a case of that. I do think that I don't think Todd is that precious about it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic.
All right, well, you're optimistic. We'll see. Achievement says, remember when the Vision Pro came out and Mark Zuckerberg gave a quick review of it, and he mentioned that the MetaQuest would beat Apple's usual product launch dominance by being an open platform? And he even mentions that Apple lost the PC space to Microsoft because Windows was an open platform. Taking that same logic and seeing how Xbox is choosing Meta for its open platform to finally get into VR, do you think this is how they're thinking about the future of Xbox console as well? An open platform where maybe they can win dominance by giving the consumer choice?
I think it's definitely something that they consider when they're looking at like how Gen Z thinks about gaming. And it's kind of like where they're not beholden to a platform, and they just live in the sort of Windows iPad kind of universe where it's less about the platform and more about the game specifically. We've grown up in a very different era, a different mentality when it comes to our gaming habits. And I think Microsoft's thinking like, well, how can we tap into the more prevalent trends? And I think that is to be a little bit more open, especially in places outside of the West where you've got sideloading on Android as a big avenue for gaming and stuff. And like Android is kind of that open platform as well, where you can plug any peripheral you want into an Android phone, and you can play the games how you want at any time you want and stuff like that. I think being more open gives them a lot more options, but they could easily just make a meal of it and make it more complicated than it needs to be. And also, I think I wrote an article this week about the 3 questions Microsoft needs to answer if they are going to do something like this. And one of my big things was they need to make sure that the experience isn't degraded. I don't want to be messing around with config files and settings when I'm just trying to play a console game, I saw an article on PC Gamer the other day where it's like, yeah, I think it was about Fallout 4 off the top of my head. It might not have been. But it was like the article was like this game, even though it's been updated, still hides its most important setting in the config file, and that was the setting to unlock the frame rate. It's not exposed in the main settings menu. I don't want to be messing with that kind of stuff, like managing my UI mods for World of Warcraft. I have to use a third-party tool called Curse to make sure those mods are synced if I ever reinstall the game. Because it's a pain setting them up and tweaking them and settings and weak auras and all these kind of things I have to do and hoops I have to jump through to get the way I like it. It's cool that I can do that in the first place, but it's also a headache. Sometimes I just want things to work. But we'll see what happens. It could either be everything, but it could also be terrible. Like with a lot of Microsoft things they do. It could either be amazing and it sounds awesome, but it could also just be a complete mess and terrible.
CJ says, "Hey gents, just wanted to say I hope you're both well. Can't wait for this week's Jezcast with interviewer Randall Thor 19. Love the podcast, guys. Have a great weekend." Well, thank you.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
that. Monkey vs. Tramp says, "Rand, my Xbox chief. When shall we, the Xbox community, be blessed to witness both you and oh no, it's Alex both thigh slapping on a live stream together? The people need to know. Maybe one day, but I doubt you'll see me thigh slap like Alex does. You know, I'm not built like Alex. Nobody wants to see my thighs. You know."
What are you talking about? People love thick now. It's in fashion.
No. People love Alex. I want to see them nips. You know? I guess I could start off the show without my shirt on and have people pay to put my shirt back on, you know?
Speaking of taking shirt off, did you see Kanye announced some kind of OnlyFans thing?
No, I didn't.
Kanye West?
Did not. Nope.
Yeah. Kanye West doing OnlyFans now, man.
Oh, interesting. A Fury J. West says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Phil Spencer and multiple members of Xbox management have said that console sales aren't as important as people actually playing the games wherever they want. Why do you think the discourse online mostly keeps about bringing up the fact that console sales are down, even though revenue is up? Am I wrong, or does that mean people are spending more time playing games on system they already own?"
Nope, that's completely right. I think part of it is because most journalists and people who are invested are addicted to the old way of thinking, you know, and
I wouldn't use the word addicted.
I would. But there is, I mean, like we've gone over it. There are legitimate reasons to be concerned about this strategy. Like if devs stop supporting the platform, what happens to our games, you know, and digital libraries that we locked into, all that kind of stuff. There are legitimate concerns. But I do think it's a disservice that there is this focus on hardware sales when the margins for hardware just aren't there. And it's like I feel like everyone's just like, so Microsoft needs to do more like Sony. They need to copy Sony. They need to copy Sony. But it's like, dude, Sony's margins aren't that great either. And why are their margins not great? You know, is it because they spend 500 million on a game that is only available on one platform? You know, it's that kind of stuff. Is that a great strategy? I don't know if it still is, you know. So a lot of things to think about with that kind of stuff, and well, that's why you should take news and discourse from multiple places. And I'm not just saying like us or me or Windows Central or whatever. Just that every perspective is valuable for different reasons. You know, I do think the perspective that Xbox needs to try harder, I completely agree. They do, and I think that they do. The hardware sales they'd be better served if hardware sales were up, but also disagree that it's doom and gloom like a lot of content creators and others would prefer to paint the picture of as.
Yeah, it says, also, I don't mean this to sound like a console war question, but why do you think the Metacritic score for Stellar Blade is being praised when Starfield is higher and was considered mid? Is it the dreaded Xbox tax? I think it's because expectations for Starfield were higher.
Yeah, people did have high expectations for Starfield, and it was much hyped, and it had been a long time. And I think a lot of people remember the leap between Oblivion and Skyrim was huge in terms of tech at the time. I remember being blown away by it. It's hilarious now when you play Skyrim how quaint it was, how quaint it seems compared to modern games. But I remember at the time when going from Oblivion to Skyrim, it felt like night and day. I was like, my God, this is a huge upgrade. I think people were kind of hoping that we'd see that kind of huge upgrade from Starfield as well in the same way, but it kind of didn't materialize. That being said, I was surprised recently, like, because I did try the Fallout 4 update, just to give it a quick try. Like, I did try it out, and it was kind of funny to me how much better Starfield actually looks than Fallout 4. And I did not realize it until like I went back and played Fallout 4. Like it looked much better than that in my head. I was like, wait, Fallout looked like this? And then you compare it side by side to Starfield, and Starfield looks so much better. So much better, you know? But Yeah, I think people just had higher expectations, and also there was a lot of discourse about Stellar Blade being sexy, you know. And I think there's been this whole conspiracy theory that game journalists were gonna downrank it on purpose because it's sexy, you know,
Mm.
which they didn't. Apparently, in the end, it seems like I don't know. I don't think games are sexy enough, personally.
I think it's all based around expectations. People expected Starfield to be a 90. So when it came to an 83, it was kind of lower than they thought, and Stellar Blades something new. So yeah, I think it all just comes down to expectations.
Yeah.
Sick and Tired says, "Hi man, I was looking to see what both your opinions are about this question. Most of us core Xbox users saw all of the work Microsoft had put into building up their first-party studios finally coming together. The next 3 years was going to be impressive, with them finally having a hard-to-deny first-party roster of games like Hellblade 2, Forza Horizon 6, Indiana Jones, Avowed, South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Gears 6, Blade, etc., etc., and then the addition of ABK. This is why the decision to start putting games on PlayStation and Switch seems so short-sighted to many of us. Do you think with all these first-party games coming in the addition of COD to Game Pass that this would have driven Xbox console sales to the point of growth they wanted over last gen? The saying "build it and they will come" would it have borne out true in the second half of the generation? I'm also assuming Microsoft would have advertised and marketed the games and Game Pass correctly into this question. What say ye?
What say ye?
What say ye? I mean, I know that is like for a lot of people, they thought Xbox sort of just gave up. It's like you get ABK, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, by the way, we're putting our games on PlayStation, and they didn't even really try to see what ABK and like finally your first party stuff would actually have done for any of these things. Like, would it have grown your hardware and wouldn't have grown Game Pass? It just sort of seemed like you're waving the white flag way too early.
Yeah.
But none of us have the financials. None of us see the numbers. None of us have any of those things. So we just been like, oh, remember, because like the timeline was, people thought Xbox was going to have a monopoly. And then suddenly it's like Xbox is leaving hardware and is about to leave gaming. It's like totally whiplash of...
I love that meme. Xbox is dead. Xbox is back.
I know, right? It's like, seriously, you had people...
We literally had that this week. Like Fallout blew up and like, oh man, Xbox has got a real banger IP on their hands here again. And then now the financials have come out. Oh well, Xbox is dead again now. Rip.
Yeah, I mean there was people legitimately trying to say Xbox had a monopoly of the market and that Sony would be utterly destroyed. Like literally trying to convince people that the deal should have been blocked because Sony would have been driven out of the market, right? And Xbox would have been this huge monolith monopoly dominating gaming. And I remember like listening to these people and just being like, they certainly aren't an Xbox fan because we know better than that, right? Like, there's no way that's going to happen. And then suddenly the deal's over and complete, and people are like, why did Microsoft give up? They were right on the cusp of, okay, now you're finally reaching a cadence of your studios with their games and Call of Duty, and yet you don't even see if that's going to do anything for you. Would it have borne? I mean, I do agree with Jez that I do think Call of Duty marketing will help, and especially if it's called it. We don't know. I don't know if we know for sure. Do we know if this year's Call of Duty is current gen only? Like,
I think it is.
If they finally cut off,
or is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Normally, I use like last generation. I think they stopped. What was the first one? The first like true next gen Call of Duty. Advanced Warfare was on both the 360. I think Infinite Warfare in 2016 was the first one that was only on Xbox One and PS4. And that would have been, what, 3 years in? But then Black Ops 3 was on Xbox One, but I think and PS4, but I think it was just the multiplayer. It didn't have the campaign. Either way, it was like 2016 or 2017 when that finally happened. We're 4 years in now. So is this version going to just be PS5 and Xbox Series X and S? If so, and if they have they do the marketing for it, we're assuming they have the marketing, that could be the reason all the old Xbox One owners upgrade their systems, and then potentially you see a rise in console sales and all that sort of stuff. So, maybe that will happen. But I mean, clearly Microsoft has, whatever reasons they have for doing what they do, maybe they thought it wouldn't be that big of a difference. So I don't know. It's tough to say, considering we're not playing with the full deck. We only have some of the information. We don't have all of it. Mythic Marty says, hello, gents. Writing this on the beach in Thailand on my honeymoon. Oh, congratulations, honeymoon. All right. This has come up a few times, but the future of Halo, it occurred to me 343 should look to emulate what Capcom has done with Resident Evil. You remake Honor, the first game for modern audiences, while exploring new directions with higher number sequels. Only challenge is the multiplayer components, which I agreed with John from Xbox 2+1. You gotta decouple it from the campaigns. What do you think, and should 343 look to Resident Evil for guidance?
I'll leave this to you to answer, because you're the Halo guy. Whenever I speak about Halo, it upsets everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Whatever you sort of decide to do with this is going to be, if you decide to continue on with the story, some people won't be happy. If you decide to remake everything from the ground up and start anew and fresh, some people aren't going to be happy. I don't know what you really should do with the single player lore stuff. But I do feel that maybe the multiplayer should be its own thing and not tied to a campaign, but I think they still want it tied to a campaign to get that hype. You know what I mean? For all that marketing and stuff. Like, they want it to be this full pack. Well, they wanted Infinite to be a full package, but remember the campaign came a month later. I don't know what the right thing to do for Halo is, and I think Resident Evil works with remakes because those games are so old, right? Those games are like Resident Evil 1 and 2 are PS1 games with the fixed camera angle. So when you remake them for modern consoles, it's like you can do so much, you can show so much. Right, even like the jump from Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube to Resident Evil 4 on the remake is super impressive. But with Halo, it's still a first-person shooter. I don't know if it would look as impressive as going from third-person fixed cameras to what they were doing, where it was like 2D locked and then like full 3D. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why it works with Resident Evil. And maybe why it wouldn't necessarily work with Halo. But yeah, I don't envy them trying to figure out what you should do or what they need to do with like the story related stuff.
It's difficult. It's really difficult. It's like it's kind of WoW has a similar problem where it's like, what do you do with all that legacy content and that legacy story? What do you do with it? How do you get new players on board with that stuff? And they tried doing a new character with Locke and stuff, and people hated it, which was sort of like a soft, we're taking the story in a different direction. And then, man, it's really tough. I don't know what I'd do. Yeah. I mean, I know what I would do for me personally. If it was me, I would literally just reboot the whole thing. I'd remake the first game completely. I'd remake the second game, but maybe with tweaks for new lore and story and stuff like that. And then start maybe taking it a different direction from 3. Similar to kind of what they've done with Final Fantasy 7 in a way. Where it's like, it is basically the same plot of the original, but they are taking it in a slightly different direction. That's how I would do it. And then by the time you get to the sort of those Promethean things, just completely revamp everything. That's how I do. Keep the flood as the main thing, you know. The flood was so much better than everything else. It's tough.
Yeah, it is.
How about this, Rand? How about this? You reboot Halo, but instead of it being Master Chief we know, it's based on the TV show. How popular do you think that would be?
That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh.
It's a disaster
I thought
waiting
that
to
was
happen.
Good old the TV show is really popular.
Yeah, good old Collinwood says, "Hello, Rand and Jez. Rand, it's Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo weekend. Have you ever gone to one? I have not. Jez, did you go to London Gaming Week?
I did not. I didn't even know there was a thing, to be quite honest with you.
No, I've never been to that. Brandon Sanderson was going to be there, and I kind of thought about going, but got to do a podcast with you guys, right? The things I do instead of going to see Brandon Sando. James Wiseau says, with the bonds being made with the Eastern developers we've seen, Persona, Tales of, and now a modernish Final Fantasy game come to Xbox, other than the obvious like Final Fantasy VII Remake, what other games from our friends over in the East would you like to see come to Xbox? And Monster Hunter Stories doesn't count, Jez.
Well, I don't know that many games. I suppose like the big one for Xbox obviously is MiHoYo, so your Honkai Star Rail, your Genshin Impact. Those are glaring omissions in the Xbox lineup. But we've seen like Microsoft link up with NetEase a bit more recently, and that sort of begs the question: could we see Project Mugen get some investment from Microsoft and make that their version of Genshin and stuff like that? You know, it is the whole exclusivity debate does kind of fall apart when you think about like there are entire genres which Sony has locked down as exclusive, and that's, you know, the gacha stuff, you know, and Xbox doesn't have an answer to that at all, and you know that's kind of kicking them out of a huge amount of the Gen Z market, which Xbox claims that it cares about and understands. But it's like, well, if you really care that much about these Gen Z people, where's your answer to Genshin Impact, you know? So there is Project Mugen, I think it's called, and a bunch of other games that could potentially be that. And they've just now got Final Fantasy 14. So, you know, it's sort of like baby steps, eh? But we'll see what happens.
We have Dio Games. Says, hi, Rand and Jez. The Steam's decision to go multiplayer was in many regards a schism for the Xbox fandom. I can't remember many of this size in any fandom. The closest comparators I can think of, frankly, are the Star Wars fandom post-Last Jedi, Game of Thrones halfway through the 8th season, and the Fire Fandom fans after Fate's released. All of which is to say the brand has been stressed and the community is fractured. Is there any way to repair this? Will people come around in time? Or is this basically the end of the Xbox community as it once was? I think it's the end of the Xbox community as it once was. I don't think it'll ever go back, because I think more and more games will go to PlayStation over the course of time, and the ones who kind of already have left won't come back. So, yeah, it's the end of what it was. It will never be like that again.
Who's left?
No, I'm just saying, like, in general,
a lot of people are mad, but who's really changed their gaming habit?
I mean, nobody's, I don't think, really changed their gaming habits. I was more talking about like discussions elsewhere. But I don't think there's a way to repair this, because if you look at what started this, it's Xbox bringing their games elsewhere. So in essence, what would repair that? It would be Xbox not putting their games elsewhere. But we both think that that's not going to happen, that they're just going to continue to do it because it's going to make them a lot of money. So there's no way to repair it. And some people will come around in time for sure, but most won't. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Suberg says, "Hello, gents. I'm an avid 40 FPS believer, but if a game can hit a stable 30 FPS, then there should be room to hit 40 FPS. Why aren't more devs shooting for these middle-tier performance options? It offers a great compromise between 30 and 60 for the people that are gaming on HFR displays. Hope you two have a great weekend and go Clips." Yeah, how come we don't see more 40 FPS stuff? Maybe Starfield. Maybe Starfield could have hit 40 FPS in the Series X, huh? You know, I mean, it ran 30 pretty close for most of it. You know, how come we're not getting those, Jez?
40 FPS. I think there is a sort of like there's an issue with 40 FPS when it comes to screen tearing and things like that. If you don't have variable refresh rates, but I do think it should be an option for people who do have variable refresh rates. So you know, I think we will see more of it now that like Fallout's kind of cracked the seal on that a little bit. Although apparently it's bugged right now. It doesn't actually work.
Surprise, surprise! Bethesda put out something buggy. Are you shocked?
Nope.
Yeah, 40 FPS is a good compromise between 60 and 30. It feels better than 30. Obviously not as good as 60, but it feels more. It feels better.
I play a lot of my ROG Ally games at 60, and that's one of the things that kind of sucks about the Lenovo Legion Go is the fact that it doesn't have variable refresh rate. So like when you are playing on a lower end system and you want to use, a weird frame rate or whatever, you are potentially gonna run screen tearing unless you use VSync and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the fun of PC gaming, man. You gotta deal with all this stuff.
Lee Sanders says, "Crazy that it's May next week and the showcase will be soon. Which studio from Xbox lineup should be there, but won't end up being there, and create mass hysteria in the gaming landscape and therefore bring the end of Xbox for real this time?" I'm saying Undead Labs will no-show. Yeah, but that won't cause any hysteria. So I'll say it'll be Perfect Dark won't be there. Just in this thing of like what would supposed to be there but won't be there and cause hysteria. It would be Perfect Dark.
I've heard a lot of. I've heard that the development on that game's been a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Ups and downs. For a while it was going good, and then bad again, and all the stuff that happened with, the initiative and everybody leaving and coming, and all the stuff that happens with Embracer and all those sort of things, and laying off people at Crystal Dynamics haven't been the rosiest, easiest roads for that game, right?
No, it'll be a miracle if it gets out in any kind of good quality, I think. Given what's happened with Crystal, the weird sort of drama that happened with Daryl Gallagher and
they probably still have a couple years. I mean, even if like a game is, we always hear like games come together towards the end. So even if it's like, having its problems now, by the time it gets ready, it could all come together. But we'll see. Lee Sanders, I just read that. Let me refresh the page and see if anybody came in with the late question. We got Donataku. Says, "What up, Mayo Man Jez and Blandal Thor? The Switch 2 announcement is rumored to be in June. The Xbox showcase will be completely overshadowed. Totally unrelated to that, here's my actual question. Do you think it would be a good idea for Xbox to get back into sports games like they did during the early Xbox days? I feel like now more than ever, people would be more open to something like NFL Fever and NBA Inside Drive as competition in this space. It's basically non-existent, and day one Game Pass could make them very successful. But you could also say that it could cause a strain with their third-party partners like EA and 2K, so what do you guys think?"
I didn't know they're ever doing that, to be honest.
What? Doing what?
Well, I didn't know they ever did sports.
Oh, Xbox did sport. Yeah, they had a football game. They had They had a sports game for every sport, I think. And then I believe they dropped them because EA said they would only support Xbox if they stopped development of their sports games. And then Xbox did, and then EA came to support the platform, and yeah. Could I see them doing sports stuff again? Or should they do sports stuff again? I think NBA and FIFA are probably too aligned, and you would need the licenses for that, and it's probably super expensive. It would also need to be multi-platform.
They've got Forza. They could do more. I think they could probably do more in the racing arena.
I don't think anybody cares about that, though.
You don't think people care about Forza?
No, I mean in comparison to like football, baseball, like soccer.
Ooh, they could do a cricket game.
Cricket.
Oh yeah. Oh man, they would totally dominate the world if they had a AAA cricket game. And Satya likes cricket. They should do it.
They should. I don't see it happening. Because I think for them, they'd be like, no, it would just be too expensive, and we'd just be competing with the brands that have been there forever, and it would be such an uphill struggle. Plus, like, like 2K comes to Game Pass here and there, and so does the other ones, and MLB's in Game Pass. So FC's comes to Game Pass after year with the EA Play stuff because Star Wars just joined. I mean, I think there's a reason why they haven't pursued it, and even Sony themselves, because Sony used to do those too, and the only one Sony kept on doing was the baseball one. They dropped their football one. They're probably just like, too cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
But anyways, we have a super chat here from Grandman who says, I'll cash app $25 if Jez beats Persona 5 this year. Yeah. We'll see. He also says, I'm addicted to the finals. Why isn't it popular? I mean, I think it's doing well. I think its numbers are all right. I don't know if it's popular in the sense that why isn't like one of the top 5 most played games in the world? I mean, you're in a world with all these other games that are also super successful. I think the finals is doing well for itself.
Yeah.
We got Alucard with the 5. When do we expect Bethesda to fix the mod menu for Fallout 4 on my Xbox? My reserved mod storage space is like -2 billion.
Good question.
I have no idea. I'm sure they'll fix it. Jay Murchie with the 5 says, Jez, have you tried Fallout 76 on the ROG Ally? Thank you for all the knowledge and positivity you both bring to gaming with this podcast every week. Well, thank you. But have you tried it on the Ally? How's it run?
I haven't because it doesn't support crossplay.
Okay.
But we do have an article on Windows Central about a sort of an overview of how well it runs or doesn't run on those systems. So if you're interested, definitely go and check that out.
All right. Well, that has been episode 313 of the Xbox 2 podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all for being here. Hope you have a great, fantastic, amazing weekend, because it's supposed to be like 82 degrees here in Chicago coming up. So
what's that in real numbers?
I don't know what those would be in Celsius, the fake numbers. All I know is 82. Yeah. 82 is starting to get up there and hot, you know? Jez, what is your, what is your weekend plans with the girlfriend out of town?
I'm going to play Fallout 76.
You're going to play Fallout 76? Channel. I'm going to start Stellar Blade and then sign a petition because it's been censored. No, I ain't going to do that. Imagine doing that. But I'm going to play Stellar Blade. Hopefully I like it. Nice to play an action game. Anybody out there who's just tuning in or whatever, check out Tales of Kenzera because I thought it was pretty damn good Metroidvania. But with all that said, we're gonna be where are we heading out? Hope you enjoyed episode 313 of the Xbox 2 podcast.
Manscaped.
Yep. Thank you to Manscaped for supporting us. Code XB2 at the checkout. And we will see you next week. So have a good one and keep it gaming. Later.
Rock and roll, baby.